A very good evening to everyone. I am Ankit Kanodia from SmartSync Services, a SEBI registered investment advisory firm. Welcome to the sixth episode of Mission Smile Investing Karwa. And the topic for today's session is Magic and Miseries of Microcap Investing. And Mission Smile Investing Karwa is a new Mission Smile initiative where we invite veterans from the industry every month who have at least 2 decades of experience in the stock market and learn from their vast journey and experience. Before we begin, I would request everyone to please keep yourself on mute and switch off the video so that we can have a seamless discussion and soak in all the wisdom. You may type in your questions on the chat box. We'll take all the questions at the end of the session. So let's begin. Today, our guest is Mr. Atul Raval. Atul sir graduated in civil engineering from LD College of Engineering, Ahmedabad, and did his MBA from BK School of Business Management, Gujarat University, 1991. He was a civil engineer at Gujarat State Water Supply till 1993, and then switched to full-time IT role for the rest of the career, and retired recently as head of IT in the same department, in the same company. Accidentally, he came to investing with stocks, and this journey started long back in 1993. But rather than monetary, the academic side of investing kept him glued through the years. Some good investments and naturally some bad investments were just byproducts. Throughout his journey, he never lost the passion and was always well supported by his better half. Atul sir has maintained a low profile, hence very few investors know him. Thank you so much, Atul sir, for agreeing to do this. And this is not all. We have a lot of things planned with Atul sir in the microcap space. Our Triple S team is working on the research notes of 100 companies between 100 crore and 2,500 crore market cap. We'll be soon releasing those reports for our Mission Smile members. And with the help of Atul sir, we also plan to have managements of microcap companies to grace our Mission Smile platform and share their journey and struggles from 50 crore to 1,000 crore market cap. All this will be available only for our Mission Smile members. If you are not a member and attending today's webinar, you have a surprise that today I've just shared it on the chat, the link. If you are not a member and attending today's webinar, you have a short window to cash in on 20% discount on our Mission Smile offering. I've just shared the link on the chat box. This 20% discount offer lasts only till the time of the presentation. Atul sir, thank you so much. We'll start with an opening remark from your side and then straight away move to the Q&A. And in the end, we'll have 15 to 20 minutes for the audience to ask a few questions. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Ankit ji, Akhilesh, and Team Mission Smile. I'm very pleased to learn that you have been doing so. It's so wonderful. In fact, in my this nearly 30 years journey in this stock markets, I've seen that mostly people discover something and then they do it for yourself for a very limited set of people. Whereas you have taken this mission itself, and that's quite wonderful. Congratulations for that. I welcome all other participants on this webinar. As everybody must be eager to know, the journey, maybe somebody has 2 years, somebody has 20 years in this field, and all sort of different experiences come through. So yes, how one develops the perspective about the stocks and how we can move ahead, especially where most people are not focused, or I would say the ignored space, which is microcaps. So it will be a delight to be sharing all the details with all of you. Thank you once again, Ankit ji.
Thank you so much, Atulji. And let's straight away go to the questions. So I'll start with the first question now. So let's start from the beginning, sir. You have been investing in the market since 1993. And as I know, you have been a government employee for the majority part of your life. So how did it start and how did you manage to invest along with work?
Okay. I came to stock markets. In fact, it was an accident. How? Uh, a common friend brought a gentleman at my place, and he insisted me to teach his daughter, who was in 8th standard, and he was insisting it very hard. So I had to agree to it. But then I was not a professional in that area, so I politely declined to uh, be paid any remuneration for this kind. I thought she was my daughter, and somehow he wanted me to be paid. So he did something. He thought that how I would pay. So he asked me that, okay, you buy these stocks. I was not aware. So I said that, okay, uh, I don't know how to approach, whom to meet with, etc. It was not so easy at that time. There were sub brokers in certain places. So he bought some stocks for me. When I looked at it, he said that, okay, we bought for 17. And after some days, he said, we sold it for 25. I thought it was amazing. No, we were just struggling for some 12% in those days in a year. And how could you find such things where such returns are there? Uh, then obviously I asked that how do you find these things? He said you will always get the juice. You need not worry about the process. Somehow अंदर एक जो कीड़ा पड़ा होता है ना आप में, तो वो नहीं माना कि yes, though I'm interested in juice, but I am more interested in making it myself. So I was more interested in process. Then he said, okay, he was holding a large number of companies in his portfolio. So he said that, okay, I have this many annual reports and you can go through. So I brought uh, a sizable bundle of all those annual reports and started reading. Parallelly, I was doing my MBA. So being an engineer, I did not have any exposure to accounting and related fields. So it helped a lot. So as I went through the annual reports, because that was probably the only material available, authentic material available in the public domain. Websites were not there. And what you read in newspapers, etc., the result comparison also was about 6 months. So maybe a company will declare a result of a half year, and that too maybe after completion of the last date, and it will stretch to maybe 3, 4, 5 months. So by the time, a lot of things would have changed. So this is how I came into this stock market, and then I found that yes, this is something where real good things can be done. The only part was that information was quite limited. Uh, Maybe promoters were not that friendly. There were bigger companies which people talked about, and uh, somehow I felt that with all these bigger companies, A group companies, whatever smaller changes are happening, it is noticed by everybody, and immediately that whatever change comes there, it affects the price immediately. So there was nothing like we can look forward to a long-term perspective and see a seed growing into plant and then tree. So this is how I came into the market and started my journey with.
So my follow-up question to you would be, did you immediately start with the microcap space or it started gradually or something like, or if you can expand something on that?
In fact, I was not much aware of what companies are there, how they are doing, etc. The good part was that my academic interest was in various fields. So because I had been through civil engineering, then I went through MBA. My interest was in IT. So right from the mainframe computer, the only computer that we had in 1984, and then in 85 came PC. So it was the first introduction to the personal computer. So then I went through a course in IT. So that also helped a lot in understanding the various cycles of various industries and what softwares are required for that. So in the process, I came across a lot of other subjects. I went through GPSC exams, wherein I was introduced to banking, history, geography, languages, and believe me that all of them have been useful in understanding various aspects of the companies and how they are affected by different cultures or the changes, the geography, or the even history. It helps a lot.
It was really, really helpful. So I completely agree with you, sir, over here that whatever, however wide we can read, we should read, because often we spend too much time or energy or focus too much on investing and investing related books or information. But what you have said is completely something which is a gem of a learning for all of us, that you can learn from history, you can learn from geography, you can learn from physics. There are so many disciplines from where you can learn.
Another good part was that by that time, around 20 years back, we had started receiving business standard in Gandhinagar, where I live. So I am an addict. So even whenever I go out and if I don't read business standard for 2 days, my family will keep it separately for me so that I can come back and read. So I would say that reading such wonderful things, because if you go through it now, it's not only about stocks. It's a general impression that these pink papers are about stocks. But if you are really addicted to it, you will find that it covers the entire spectrum of economy. And very wonderful uh, columnists are there, which otherwise probably would not find them anywhere, because they may not be publishing their books regularly. So it's a daily dose and you get addicted.
So just a follow up on that question, you said that there are so many columnists. So I personally am a big fan of Akash Prakash, and he writes regularly for Business Standard. Any other favorite of yours in Business Standard whom you look up to?
You'll find there are a lot of them, but one versatile personality that I've been reading for years together is Mr. Devanshu Datta.
Yes, 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 yes.
Uh,
He's from Kolkata, I remember.
he's from
Right.
Kolkata.
Yes,
And you'll see that he can write on anything.
exactly.
He writes on chess, he writes on Higgs boson particles, he writes on economy, he writes on technical aspects of equity.
Fundamental, technical, everything. Right.
So, everything means I've not seen such a wonderful person with such a wide spectrum where I love him.
Great, great. So moving on, sir. So take us through some of your biggest microcap winners. And I don't want to know only the names. I am more interested in the whole journey of your research, how you invested in them, and what made you hold on to them for a long period of time. Because the more I know, the little I know about you, you have made money by holding on to your winners for a long period of time in the microcap space, right?
Yes. In fact, and everybody will agree that whosoever has invested in stock markets has made some money in some stocks and must have lost some money in some stocks. So that is an inevitable part. Even the legends like Junjunwala sir, he also have some such stocks in his portfolio which have not performed. But what has performed for him is excellent. So my first remark would be, okay, and normally we talk about winners only. We must talk about losers only. But let's take the better part first, as you say. Uh, because of sheer curiosity, because I understand that that is a very essential part in understanding the uh, economy and all the elements surrounding it. So a lot of things are available in the universe that we come across day by day. To start with, I would say uh, first thing I'll discuss is Heron Drugs. It was a company. It was a regime where we did not have that demat. It was just prior to the demat of the stocks. Suddenly, we noticed that there is a person who came in and bought 50% of the promoter stake. Other 50% was with public. But the price difference was glaring. It was available at rupees 13 in the market, and he bought the entire stake at 20 rupees. So that was something unusual. Uh, what we want in the stock market is change in price in upward direction, except for traders who trade on both sides. So as investor, what we want is upward movement in price. So that change in price is driven by certain changes in other parts, which affects the stock. So if we monitor the changes which are affecting the prices, it could be a lot of things like policy change, change in management, uh, let's say some anti-dumping duty, something like that. So this was prompting me to believe that there is some change happening in this company. We bought a few, which we could at 13, 14 rupees. And then we observed, and then when we dig deeper, he was Mr. Chandrasekhar, who had bought it from the promoter. So usually in such cases where a management change occurs like this, and in very micro cap stocks, and as we have experienced that in a lot of such cases, operators are driving prices, and then people are afraid, and then they are unable to get out of it. There are a lot of such cases. So when we check with the background of the promoter, uh, the one who came in, he was a technocrat in pharma industry. So that was quite interesting that a person comes in, buys promoter stake at 20 rupees, where 13 is a market price. So we bought few and just waited. Immediately after that, the chairman sold some of his stake to the MD. As per guidelines, that also preempted a open offer. So he gave an open offer at around 34 rupees. So our views were getting corroborated that there is something behind it, and he wants to mop up everything, whatever is available in the market. So probably this is a way how some product developed by him, he's rather than through IPO, he's bringing it onto listed space from backdoor. So we waited a little more, and in about 6 months came another offer that was at 100 rupees. So our view was firmed up that yes, there is something which is coming. And then gradually in the sequence, he offered higher prices every time. And maybe in around 4 years, uh, in between we sold some because it was fantastic. From 13 rupees to 250 and then 500 and then 800. And then final offer came at rupees 3000. Wherein Mr. Chandrasekhar himself sold his entire stake to Mylan USA. And he became a director over there. And in the meantime, the company was renamed as Matrix Laboratories. So that was a wonderful experience. And it inspired us a lot to look for such micro caps where if we can catch the right story, it can be a not in percentage but in multiples. So that was first case. where I was very happy with it. Because of my employment, I was getting a little time to look into these things. But by the time these websites had come up, a lot of information we were getting, and gradually through networks, we started verifying whatever details were available in the public domain. And yes, it was obvious that somewhere we will fail. But fear of failure cannot keep us bound. So this was nearly 300x for us.
That's a fascinating journey, sir. And I have a follow up for this. So you would have put in some capital, right, at 20,
right,
when you saw that. Then how did you scale up your position? Can you just
right? Maybe we were not quite aware of the scientific aspects of investing at that time. So we were just excited to have such kind of returns into it. So very frankly, we had not scaled up much at that time. Also, relatively available capital also was less. Yes, the very important aspect at that time, probably we missed that. Yes, there was a company, another company called Flat Products. We saw an advertisement. It was for interviews for helpers. So in the advertisement, company said that a company having turnover of 350 crore rupees growing to 500 crore requires following personal walk-in interview. So that was quite interesting, that if a company having 350 crore and in next year growing to 500 crore must be having some very good business. So we looked into it and found that they were into making of metal plants. So they were making plants for all metal companies. The equity was tiny, 5 crore rupees, and 75% was held by promoters. When we went through it, we could know that promoter was at the age of 75, and on the board, no other son or son-in-law was there. So one of the conclusions for us was that in near future, he will have to sell the business. And if a company with 5 crore capital and 500 crore turnover, definitely very good players will come in. The only part that we found difficult was that at 350 crore, they had a profit of just around 2 crore rupees. We tried to contact the management, but did not get very good response. Finally, we went to the company. It's in Mumbai, SIPS. So the company secretary at that time, he tried to avoid. But then we said that we are holders and at least, sir, we would like to visit you at least once. And he said that, okay, I'll give you a call at 4 o'clock and let you know. So we just went outside the company, waited there. And as soon as he called, we called at 4. He said, if you can come in 10 minutes, that's fine. Otherwise, we have other schedules. So we went there. When we saw the administrative building, we realized that, yes, for this flat product, even if we sell our own flats and buy this flat product, that would be worth. For such a small micro cap company, the price at that time was around 80 rupees. So with 5 crore capital and 80 rupees price, the market cap was extremely tiny. Whereas the administrative building itself probably would cost not less than 50 crore at that time. So rest of the plant was free. We talked to the company secretary. He said that some foreign delegation has come. So that also corroborated our view that some procedure is going on. Then we came to know from the company employees that Mr. Mehta was promoter. He did not have son. he had 3 daughters, and probably they were not interested in the business. They were holding some shares in their names. So while talking to the company secretary, he was replying in yes and no only. So we tried a lot, but he did not reveal anything. So finally, I said that, okay, now you are going to 500 crore this year. So your profit will be 3 crore. Then he was annoyed. He said, why? I said, when on 350 crore, you can make 2 crore. 500 crore, you will reach to 3 crore or maybe 4. What else? And he said, no, not like that. And I said, what is the issue? Why you are making such low margins on such fantastic business? He said that normally whatever the orders they get, it is for the project because they will build a plant. So that will span over maybe 18 to 24 months at least. So in that period, if raw material changes, then their margins would be affected. So at that time, steel had gone up. So they had that reduced margin. So I asked, will it be same all the time? He said, no. I said, do you have any escalation clauses now? He said, obviously, अब तो रखना ही पड़ेगा ना, ऐसे थोड़ी धंधा करेंगे. So that was the clue. So I could understand that on a tiny equity of 5 crore with 500 crore turnover, a difference in margin of just 1% would raise the EPS by 10 rupees every time. And in such, when Tata Steel or Jindal would give them order for their steel plants, obviously they will have good quality, good management, everything. And it happened so, and it went up to 2,000 rupees. So that was wonderful learning for us. There onwards, we started that, okay, if the risk reward is fantastic, we must scale up. So Flat Product was the company, in which case we started scaling up a bit. And then because its project execution is 18 to 24 months, quarterly results will not be same every time. So we cannot take decisions based on quarterly reports. But generally, we have to look at the steel cycle, metal cycle. Because if metal producers are not making good money, they will not expand. So if they don't expand, that product will not get the news. As expected, Mr. Mehta sold the company and they sold it to a Belgian company. So it became MNC. MNC with 75% stake. So that also helped us raise the P, and market was quite comfortable with the new management. Again, in the down cycle, it went to 250. We exited around in between 17 and 1800 rupees because we saw that metal cycle is going down now. So maybe they will have some dull years. And again, it came down to 250, as low as 250. And fortunately, we entered again into this and still holding this. Yes.
Great. Sir, I again have a follow-up question on this. So, just because they don't have any son and the daughters are not interested, is it easy to come up with that conclusion that there will be no, as in they would be willing to, because there would be, I'm sure there are many cases where, despite of not having any son or daughter interested in the business, the promoter continues to hold on to the company and continue doing his work, right? So how did you come to that kind of a conclusion?
Mr. Mehta was 75 at that time. So having no succession plans there in the company, this was an assumption that maybe he can carry on for maybe 2, 3, 4 years more. But then at that age, probably very few would like Ratan Tata sir, if you look at the young Ratan Tata sir. But otherwise, it will be very difficult for a common person to work that much hard at that time. And then maybe with at that age, his daughters also would be in 40s at least. So it would be very prudent for him probably to share the wealth.
But
And
he can have a professional management and continue to work, right? And
right, but the feedback that we got from employees was that now he was not coming very regularly to the company.
well,
So yes, that was a possibility. But in any case, with the margin expansion, obviously they could have done wonders. And we were sure that even if they maintain that 500 crore rupees turnover, a reasonable margin of 8 to 10% even will take them to 80 to 100 rupees earning. So it was going very cheap at 80, 100 rupees, 80 to 100 rupees. That was going very cheap. So there was no downside as such. So when risk reward is so favorable in such cases, yes, we have to go a little deeper. That's the only aspect.
right, right. So I think we got two clear patterns. In one case, you identified that the promoter is buying at higher than the current market price, and in the second case, you identified that the company is going through a huge expansion and they are going through a growth phase, right? And any other example, any other pattern you would like to discuss, or shall I move to the next question?
Yes, yes. I have some. I have listed some 8, 10 examples if time permits.
You can probably use another one or two before we move to the next question, because I'm really enjoying these examples and I think we all will be taking notes as these as some of the examples or patterns to look for in the microcap space.
Right. Another example was Indo-Borax. There were two listed companies in this borax chemical space, Indo-Borax and Borax Morarji. The Chinese dumping was so high that they were hardly making any money. So with continued losses, uh, probably they were at the final stage of dying down. So at that stage, uh, maybe the industry approached the government at that time, and government introduced anti-dumping duty uh, for these borax chemicals. By that time, Indo-Borax was languishing at around 6 rupees. So it was below par. So uh, normally it happens so that after so I should not speak ill of the processes, but yes, some facts are there that unless some practices are done by industry in dealing with certain departments, they don't get their dues. That was a common concept at that time. So we assume that now with introduction of anti-dumping duty, the fortunes of industry where only two players are listed at that time, it should turn. And in 6 rupees, we were the total that we could lose was 6 rupees. So nothing more than that. And fortunately, it turned out to be so with anti-dumping duties in place, the margins started improving. And in about 2.5 years, we could exit at around 180. In the down cycle, again, it because it's a commodity chemical, so it went down. And then again, if you right now, if you see, Indo-Borax is even much higher. In fact, we had exited because nearly 30x was too good for us at that time. Another very prominent example, two, three examples I would like to quote. One is Kaplan Point Laboratories.
Sorry,
Yes,
Ji,
please.
before we move to the next example, I have a follow-up over here as well. So
Right.
interestingly, you mentioned about 6 rupees, how much low it can go. That is what you mentioned, right? But we all know that ultimately a stock can go as low as say 0.1, right?
Right.
So we can still lose on stock. So what gave you the confidence that the valuation is much lower or growth? Anything more? You would like to say on that?
Okay. In such cases, normally I tend to look at the overall net worth of the company. Like as in case of flat product, as I said, the building itself was worth more than 50 crore rupees. So market cap of 50 crore rupees and administrative building at 50 crore rupees. So company is free. And it was almost debt free at that time. So no further burdens. So in similar cases, at 6 rupees, if you look at the market cap, then entire company is available for peanuts. So at least basically, even if they sell it as scrap, no, at least they would recover 6 rupees. That was the basic idea.
So,
And
so here we have a live example of net, which has been made so famous by Warren Buffett, and we have Atulji over here who is actually using it in his investing. And people say all sort of things that nets are no more available in the market, but if you do the right work and dig deeper, so a clear pattern which I have known in case of Atulji is that he has always met the management or at least spoke to them in all these microcap. I'll come to that portion later on in the session, but we can continue with your other examples, Atulji, please.
A company called Balaji Amines. It was at around 70 rupees, quoting at around 70 rupees. And then a business channel, news came that Balaji is not doing good. How? The promoters are diversifying into very unrelated area. So they were they were constructing a hotel. Balaji is based at Solapur. So with this news on business channel, it lost around 15 rupees more. So I was wondering that how a company in chemicals is diversifying into hotels. So we just called up the company and we tried 2-3 times and finally got a guy to talk to us. And then my obvious question was that भैया आप क्या कर रहे हो ये केमिकल में आपका इतना अच्छा काम हो सकता है और आप होटल में चले जाते हो और सोलापुर में 5 स्टार होटल में आएगा कौन? Then he explained that देखिए that's not the matter. We have a land parcel. That land parcel, if we don't utilize, a government will acquire it. So just to save that land parcel, going at peanuts, we need to have something on it. Then we can sell it. So we are as such not diversified. What I could learn was that in such a tiny company at that time, they had 32 people in R&D. So that it was very clear that their focus was on R&D. Especially at that time, not many people were investing in R&D so rigorously. So we thought that, okay, it has already come down 25%. Looking at the approach of the management towards more and more R&D, and they have not really diversified into unrelated area. And yes, they would be good. So we'll keep talking about the developments. So we bought a few, and then we regularly kept in touch with them till the time it reached 500. Then we never required to talk, because then by that time it was on radar of many fund houses and all other big investors, and they had started with con calls and everything. So we were happy that the further journey was being pulled by them. Fortunately, I'm still holding a part I have encashed, but still I'm holding a Balaji Mines there, and now it is growing more and more. Another example is Kaplan Point Laboratory. While going through the annual reports, I could read that they had some other current liabilities constantly increasing. With my limited accounting knowledge, I referred to friends that what is this other current liabilities? So the response was that it could be customer advances. So in a space where people do business on credit, if customers are paying advance, they must have some product so that people are queuing up. We checked a lot on various websites and other available material. Finally, I could find an advertisement with logo of Kaplan Point. The advertisement was in Spanish, and it was for a compound called sildenafil citrate, which was a basic drug for Viagra. So, and at that time, lot of spams were coming in emails uh, asking for such drugs at much reduced price. So Pfizer was selling it for maybe $9 a piece. As against that, obviously their cost must be very, very low. And there are a lot of buyers in especially Latin markets. Then we could see that they have a different business model. Normally, in any space, people produce something and then go to sell it to somebody who requires it. The Parthiparans are, as he has narrated in many of annual reports, the basic idea was to sell something, uh, to produce something which was selling. And if uh, they don't produce, buy it from somewhere and sell in the markets. Another very important aspect I could see was that in pharma, most people were trying for regulated market in US and EU, Europe, where stringent conditions were applied. There were inspections and a lot of cost of failure associated with it. If some patent infringement would occur, then the legal cost would be very high. As against that, this company was driving its sales in registration markets of Latin America as well as Africa. So that was quite interesting at around 60 rupees. And fortunately, it came out so. And ultimately, I'm still holding the Kaplan Point Laboratories. It's about 7 years and almost 70 to 3,500 rupees. So it has rewarded us very well. One very peculiar example I would like to discuss is Jyoti resins. I was at my residence. One cupboard was left without doors. So my neighbor in my neighborhood, one mistri came, the carpenter. I requested him that, okay, भैया एक ही डोर बनाना है तो जरा आप इतना बना दो. He was a bit reluctant कि इतना छोटा काम नहीं करेंगे. I said, you bring everything and whatever you charge, एक डोर बना दो ये. About 6 years back, in 2015-16, he asked for 8,000 rupees. So I was wondering कि भैया इतना क्या हो गया कि आप एक डोर फ्रेम और एक डोर का इतना पैसा लोगे. He said टाइम नहीं है. I agreed. Okay, do it. उसके बाद he brought other than Fevicol. So I was annoyed. I said भैया पूरा पैसा दिया है फिर आप ये कचरा लेके क्यों आते हो? फेविकॉल क्यों नहीं लाते हो? He said कि हम 15 साल से यूज कर रहे हैं सर, ये कोई कचरा नहीं है और आपका कुछ भी बिगड़ जाए तो इट्स माय रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी. And then I looked at it. It was Euro 7,000. The brand was, which was nowhere in any advertisement. We checked with it and found that the company is in Ahmedabad, just 30 kilometers away. Again, we tried and met with the management. They were not very keen to meet people related to stock markets. We said we have academic interest, and yes, then Mr. Utkarsh Patel we met with. He explained his business model. He said that we don't have the volume so that we can advertise. So the business model is that we pay incentive to the carpenters. So they are gaining some points. So on accumulation of some points, they'll be eligible to get some domestic appliances like TV, fridge, or something. So that was something very different. In such a case, he said that I don't have that much volume so that I can support any other expenses. Then our question was that why your bottom line is yet not there. He explained that we are setting up marketing in 6 states. So that setup cost is right now incurring. Once we come out of it, we'll start with other 6 states. The key is that there is no great thing in manufacturing. It's not a great technology. The key is in marketing only. If you can sell what you produce, then we are selling at the same price as Fevicol. So that was something very unusual. So at that time, it was around 40 rupees. He also explained that we have 50% operating leverage available. If I can sell, immediately I can scale up. So at 40 rupees, we found that yes, it was juicy. If they can sell the same product at the price of Fevicol, and if they sell everything, they'll have a lot of margins. And with a tiny capital, very micro cap, 4 crore capital, and almost 50% on paper with promoters, when they would realize their potential, obviously they would also tend to increase their share. And around 6 months back, we met them again. So it was probably a 15 by 15 room for the director, and now it's a posh building uh, on SG Highway in Ahmedabad. And Mr. Utkarsh was again very warm to us. Again, he explained everything. By that time, it was 800. We discussed with again this business model. He said that yes, now we are increasing capacity because we are able to sell. We have already reached covered 12 states, and now we'll move further. So yes, good times. Then we suggested one thing. He asked that, okay, how do you find the company? I said, in case of microcaps, visibility is low. So it will be very good if the company can come out with con calls or some presentations so that a large audience can know what is there. So people like me can go to any places and dig deeper, but that will not be the case with a general investor. So he obliged just in 7 days, and they uploaded a nice presentation on BSC website. And in just if you just see the journey in last 1 year, it has a 1:2 bonus, and after bonus it is 1700 yesterday. So a wonderful journey, and I suppose because of this success, we looked at other such companies. One was Nikhil Adhesive in same space with Mahakal brand, and yet we are looking at another company which is there. But this business, this adhesive business, is not very visible to many people yet. Is Jubilant Industries. What they claim is that their brand Jeevan Jor, which I could see in UP while I visited Varanasi. So that Jeevan Jor brand, they claim it to be the second brand after Fevicol, but probably market has not given its due as yet, and it's a little bigger company. So yes. Finally, I'd like to quote just very briefly two companies. In Corona period, everything was obviously shut down. So extreme fear was prevailing across segments. Uh, Retail investors most frightened because nothing was open. We set aside and thought that in such a situation, what is it that would be in most demand? So obvious thing was medicines for corona. We thought a step ahead and thought that what is it that will be ahead of in requirement ahead of this corona medicine. It was the diagnostic kits. So many people would be diagnosed positive, but before that, all people would require to be diagnosed. So we were tracking a company called Kilpest for last 4 years for their pesticides. But then we noticed that the other part, they had a subsidiary called 3B Black Biotech in collaboration with a Spanish company. And then in that company, they were making a lot of diagnostic kits for other ailments. So I thought that yes, if they can make such diagnostic kits, obviously they would venture into such a big opportunity which is available right now. We tried to talk to Mr. Dhirendra Dubey. He's a fantastic person, a very clean management, and very responsive. So on the price front, 54 was high. So our assumption was that if it crosses 55, the people in no would do it. Otherwise, in such a depressed market, it will not move up. So it was just around 30 rupees at that time. So as soon as it crossed 54, we added, assuming that yes, they have struck the gold. And then we tried to talk to Mr. Dhirendra Dubey. He was not available, but somebody else was there. हमने पूछा सर क्यों नहीं बनाते हो ये? He said कोशिश तो कर रहे हैं ना. So we could know that yes, they are just on verge of it. And finally, they were one of the first 4 approved companies. And the first order that they got, they were running at 6 crore a quarter overall. As against that, they got the first order for Corona kits for 65 crore rupees, 500 a piece. So margins were extraordinary. But then we realized that, okay, because of such huge margins, it will attract competition. A lot of more people will come in. And then in subsequent stages, it will not be. So in about 3 months, it was 10x. We talked to Mr. Dhirendra Dubey again, ask again, sir, export क्यों नहीं कर रहे हैं? He said कि भैया हम करना चाहते हैं, गवर्नमेंट करने नहीं देगी ना. I said कि आपको परमिशन तो मिला हुआ है. He said परमिशन मिला है, कोटा नहीं देंगे. They've imposed restriction on quota. तो कोटा रिलीज नहीं करेंगे. जब तक वो कोटा नहीं रिलीज किया, how do I go with firm contracts to any export market? तो ये नहीं होगा. He was very clear on that. So that was a good hint. We exited everything. So the real advantage was that rest of the market was quite depressed. Like Somani ceramic, from 1,000 rupees, it was available at 100 rupees. Magma FinCorp, with 3 lakh clients, 300 branches, it came down from 190 to 19 rupees. So we thought it appropriate that yes, this is one cycle is done and now a lot of competition will come. So we must switch. So we exited Kilpest entirely and switched to likes of Somani Ceramic. And the final company that I would like to mention is this Magma FinCorp. When everybody was depressed and all the RBI had given moratorium to all NBFCs banks that yes, you can pull on for 6 months by taking moratorium on repayment. This one company was there which announced that we don't want moratorium. So it was surprising. They said we have liquidity of 1,700 crore rupees. So I was surprised and tried to talk to the company secretary, Madam Shabnam Zaman. She was not available. We went through again. They had given this official press release. So doubt was very little about it. So that Magma FinCorp was very juicy at 1920 rupees. We checked with friends in know of good technicals. They suggested that yes, this can turn. So we bought, and then received a call from the company that there is a EGM voting. You please vote. We asked for a written favor that okay, I would like to talk to Ms. Shabnam, and then we'll vote. Then we had a talk, and she confirmed that yes, we have that liquidity. We don't want moratorium. So such a company with so long credentials into this business and recovering well even in such bad times was a great company to us. And fortunately, at around 65 rupees, it turned out to be Poonawalla FinCorp. So now a lot of it was icing on the cake. He was taking over a business where cash was a must, and he would continue to receive a lot of cash from his other businesses. So Poonawalla, fortunately, it also in these 2 years came to nearly 20x. And even I feel that it has a lot to go. A great journey is still ahead there. In fact, I have a lot many examples, but time would not permit that. Yes.
Thank you so much, Atulji. And I think Avdut, one of our Mission Smile member and a very good investor himself, he also mentioned in the chat box that please share 100 examples, because all these examples are so good to listen and hear. But we have to move on with the other questions. But before moving on, I remember you sharing your journey of Kilpesh. So that reminds me of your pattern of ancillary ka ancillary. And I have been saying this to many of my friends, investor friends all around, that this is what I've learned from you, ancillary ka ancillary. It would be great to hear that about that concept, and also about yard investing, which you mentioned to me the first time I met you in 2016 or 17, about yard investing. So आप ये दोनों के बारे में थोड़ा बता दीजिए, so that then we'll move on to the next questions.
Okay. In any manufacturing process, whatever is a final product, let's say automobile, or let's say locomotive, or railway coaches. So if railway coaches are in demand, recently railways have placed order for maybe around they are going to have 1 lakh wagons in next 3 years. So a huge business is going to come for railway wagons, so wagon manufacturers. But before they can supply, they will have to build it, and their suppliers will have to supply it prior to they can sell the wagons. So whether they can make money in wagons or not would be a different question. But even to deliver on their orders, they would need to place a lot of orders into their ancillaries. So in turn, what we are looking at a company, I've been invested for about 7 years, a company called Frontier Springs. There are just 3 approved vendors for springs, coil springs in railways. As we all know, that approval process is quite stringent. For one to become a supplier to approved supplier to railways, बहुत पापड़ बेलने पड़ेंगे, right? A lot of apart from the quality procedure, everything, you will have to cross the bureaucratic hurdle that at least prevailed at that time. So जब तक वेगन बन जाएंगे, वेगन सप्लाई होंगे, उससे बहुत पहले the other parts, ancillaries, and maybe their ancillaries, like springs, will be in demand. So if you make a simple calculation that each wagon will have 16 wheels, and under each wheel there will be a spring. So if you just make a very back of envelope calculation, we can understand what a huge demand is going to be there for springs. So Mr. Dhruv Sani is company secretary, a very warm person. We keep regular touch. Yes, one more thing here I would like to specify is that even keeping in touch with anybody, our constraint is that we never ask questions which would be classified in insider trade category. So obviously it's not ethical. Ethics is first thing, and even inadvertently, if somebody reveals something, then we must not act on that. If I want other people to be ethical, how can I move away from that practice? But the general inference is, and maybe at times in such microcaps, we accumulated Frontier Springs for 2 years in price band of 15 to 25. It moved in between that only. But because it's a tiny, it's just 4 crore capital, another some hidden aspects would be there, like the factory premises that they have is not far from Kanpur railway station. So most of the operations they have moved from this place to about 30 kilometers in Kanpur Dehat. So now, as we all know, that urban lands are getting pricier. So there could be another surprise in the offing when they decide to encash the land. So that's something bonus. But the business they are going to get, and now they have introduced another product called Airspring. So first of it is already supplied to railways. Railways have built a coach on that, and that coach is under testing. That may take around 4 to 6 months to get it finally tested, all the components. So they'll start receiving further orders even for air springs. So a huge market, a tiny capital company, good promoters, dividend paying now. What else do you want? So whether vegans will make profit or not, I'm very sure that Frontier Spring will make. And in very recently, in the last week itself, it has moved very well. One of the aspects in such microcaps is that not many people know it. When somebody will come out with some report and will publish it on various blogs or social media and it will get circulated, then a lot of people will come to know and there will be a demand surge and then it will move fast. So when the train will come on the station, there will be a rush to get the berth. But if you are there sitting right in the yard, probably you are sleeping on the upper berth very comfortably. So yes, for that one has to wait a little, give time to the product management, and yes, there will be some failures. Such tiny companies, it would happen so that uh, policy or the bigger players or any other factors will not allow them to grow and prosper as we thought. In such cases, we need to take a call. Uh, Especially, one of the very important aspect is the vision of the promoters, how they really are. पुराने टाइम में जो हम जो कहते हैं कि वो ट्रेडिशनल सेठिया कंपनीज जो है कि भाई everything driven by one person in command under one person. Probably at some age you would not like newer technologies to come in. जैसे चलता है चलने दो. But I must be in command. That sort of attitude. So probably even with very good such prospects, they might not prosper well, or maybe they'll realize it late. Like in one case, I was just looking at something. If I can find a product where price, any variations in price would not affect the demand much. So I was just looking at क्या ऐसी कोई प्रोडक्ट हो सकती है जिसका प्राइस डबल भी हो जाए तो भी डिमांड में बहुत फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. जस्ट थिंकिंग वी कुड कम अक्रॉस एक कैम्फर जो है. इट वुड बी सच ए प्रोडक्ट कि जब हम पूजा कराएंगे, पंडित जी आएंगे बताएंगे कि भाई ये लिस्ट है, आप जाएंगे दुकान वाले को बताएंगे भैया इतना दे दो. अब उसमें वो कैम्फर जो पीसीज है वो ₹1 का है या ₹2 का या ₹5 का, it doesn't make much difference. And in such occasions, we never think of such things. So we looked at various camphor companies. One very good company was Camphor and Allieds. It had a lot of other chemicals also into its basket. We found that another very tiny company is Dujodwala Products in Khopoli. In fact, we bought some stock there. Then I constantly tried to meet with the management, but they never replied. Not to my emails. Even we wrote letters, but they never replied. Finally, हमने एक दिन थोड़ा जुगाड़ किया and we talked to them on telephone. I said कि सर आप वो कहते हैं क्या बात है भैया आप कॉल कर रहे हो क्या जानना है. मैं बोला सर I would if you permit I would like to visit you. He said भैया ऐसा करोगे तो हम काम कब करेंगे. I said सर थोड़ा फोन पे बता दीजिए. सर क्या पूछना है. I said सर ये कैम्फर मेनली तो मेडिसिनल प्रॉपर्टीज है तो सर्दी जुकाम में जा रही है. He said कि आप हिंदू हो. बोले यस सर। इसे पूजा नहीं करते? यस करते हैं। तो कहते उसमें नहीं डालते हैं। बोला पर कितना? छोटी छोटी 2-4 पीस आते हैं। द नेक्स्ट सेंटेंस ही सेड वाज, पर इस देश में हिंदू कितने? सो आई रियलाइज द मार्केट, that it's a huge market. Or with a more and more religious function taking place across country, obviously demand driver is there. I held it for 4 years, but probably the bottom line was not coming there. So then we exited it and looked for something other. And then I came across Kanchi Karpuram. Again, a very tiny company in Chennai. So Kanchi name itself was referring that it is somewhere near to Kanchi Pit. So the entire religious belt over there. Fortunately, though not the MD Mr. Suresh Bhai, but some other persons were communicating. And उस टाइम ऐसा हो गया, चेन्नई में बाढ़ हो गई और सब कुछ डूब गया था. So we just called up कि सर अपना कंपनी खड़ा है कि डूब गया है. Then there was a lady, she said कि नहीं, we are 27 kilometers away from here, so we have no issues. And Kanchi was available at around 15 rupees at that time. In Corona time, that additional demand came up and huge margins were available for it. Again, same as Kill Pest. At 1100, 1200, we decided that yes, these margins cannot sustain any further. So it has to come down. Raw material cost also will vary. So we exited apart. So lot of, mere observations on certain aspects, and then looking for listed players on this, it would help a lot. And personally to me, it's more of academics. Maybe the benefits that we get are byproducts. So the enjoyment is a lot.
Thank you so much, Atulji. And just before I move on to the question, two things. Number one is, ये सेशन का टॉपिक है मैजिक एंड मिजरीज. अभी तक खाली मैजिक के बारे में बात की, ऐसा नहीं कि आप लोग ये सुन के सेशन से निकल जाओ और कल जाके सारे स्टॉक खरीदने लग जाओ. ठीक है, so there will come to the misery part also, right? And the second point is, Atul ji, more than 70 people are there for such a long time now, and मुझे नहीं लग रहा है कि 9 बजे तक खत्म होगा. So I hope you have time after 9 as well, because I see a lot of questions on the chat box.
Okay, right. It'll be a great pleasure to. देखिए, एक फिलोसॉफी ऐसा है कि हमारे पास जो भी वेल्थ रहता है उसका तो हम कभी ना कभी विल कर देते हैं. जो यहाँ है उसका विल नहीं हो सकता.
Wonderful.
तो एटलीस्ट बाय द टाइम उसका विल करने की जरूरत पड़ जाए, उससे पहले अगर ये फैल जाए in whatever experiences that we have passed through, that will be a very good personal satisfaction.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So I'll move on to the next question, Atulji. So, in my limited experience as an investor, I have observed that most new people enter this microcap space when the market is buoyant and then face excruciating pain during the drawdown that follows. What's your view on that? Do you agree with me, or do you think that no, that's not a right thing to say?
I fully agree with you. जैसे कि our legendary investor Warren Buffett sir has quoted that it is only when the tide turns you know who was swimming without clothes. So a lot of investors, obviously, we are seeing a rush of new investors, especially younger ones, now realizing that equity is such a class which can really outperform any other class, and passively it can earn for them, can be very supportive for growth, for education, and for all other social aspects. Yes, the difficulty is that not many people like to dig deeper or even have the basic readings. I have come normally when we come across many circles, many investors, and in friend circles also. The usual question that we hear is, क्या लेना है? Nobody is asking, क्यों लेना है? Probably that is the reason that people get in masses when markets are going up, and then a lot of maybe because of the natural cyclical factors when market comes down, or the much more smarter people, as we refer to them usually as operators. किसी को पता नहीं है operators क्या होता है, but yes, there is some entity called operators. Then there are people who misinform, make people to believe that there is some gold available there at the prices of not even silver but copper, and then they offload everything at certain point, and then they vanish. So yes, there are excruciating pains there for retail investors. I can only tell that yes, जिस पानी में तैरना है वहां पहले एटलीस्ट एक पाँव रख के देख ले कितना गहरा है. तो यस, किसी को देयर आर ओनली टू वेज आउट देयर. या तो आप खुद कुछ स्टडी करें एटलीस्ट क्या प्रोडक्ट है. यू विल बी सरप्राइज टू नो there were some people, in fact I learned from them. Initially I thought that yes, they know a lot and they are masters, and they were advising to many people, and many people including he himself had earned a lot of money in stocks. Gradually I came to know that he doesn't know anything. It was some reference every time that he was talking to, and whatever he was saying he was blindly spreading. And because the reference point was so good that all the pains were taken by him and the rest were benefiting. So yes, that is another way out. या तो आप खुद स्टडी करिए, देखिए क्या है, नेटवर्क कीजिए और लोगों से जानिए कि आपका जो भी एजम्पशन है whether that is in right direction or not. या तो you find out somebody who will do all these things for you and share it genuinely. Genuinely is very important, because as I said, a lot of operators would be there. So it happens so that somebody gives a tip, ये ले लो, double हो जाएगा. If it really gets double, then a bigger trap is there. Next time you will certainly trust him and will ask, sir, अब क्या ले? Gradually, maybe at a certain point, जवाब ये होगा कि अब प्रभु का नाम ले. So yes, for all retail investors, my suggestion is that yes, आप थोड़ा खुद पढ़िए, at least इंडस्ट्री को, इकोनॉमी को जानिए, आपने जहाँ इन्वेस्ट किया है वो प्रमोटर कौन है, प्रोडक्ट क्या है, whether what is the competition, are they really going to get good margins, और इस सब के बाद भी whether they are going to be transparent with you, या कुछ ऐसा हो रहा है. Recently we are trying with one management, and we are trying to explain to them that sir, what you are proposing will not be taken kindly by the market. If you make some money out of there, definitely there is more money to be made in the market, क्योंकि आप हो सकता है आपको 1 करोड़ रुपया मिलेगा, वही पैसा अगर अंदर रहा तो आपको 10 के पी पे 10 करोड़ मिलेगा. Because market is giving P, it's not wise to be unwise like this. Please.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. Such a fascinating, and we can go on and on. So my next question to you would be, how can a small individual investor invest in microcap stocks when there is hardly any information available on them? No analyst covers them. They don't hold con calls. Even annual reports are not, because we are already doing research on some of those companies now. We've started making some notes and all. So even annual reports are also not much helpful. So how do you go about working on them? I know, of course, how do you do that, but I think for the benefit of the full audience, I think it would be great if you can share how do you work on them.
Okay. There are different methods that we look into such microcaps. One plain thing is uh, look at all the companies where market cap is below something. Just flip through it. Even by names, maybe we would come across certain things. Like right now, I'm thinking on one particular theme, which is power ancillaries. As we all know, India is uh, growing very good. So everything will require power. So a lot of manufacturing, uh, power demand will go up. Hitherto, the requirement of power as delivered by the power plants. Most of the power plants are based on fossil fuel, coal based power plants. अगर आप देखें कि इंडिया में एक पावर प्लांट बनाना है कोल बेस्ड, right from the conception to commissioning, it will have to pass through a lot of difficult stages. First thing is in principle approvals, then acquisition of appropriate land, designing, tendering. The construction itself would take maybe at least 1 to 2 years. Then linkage, coal linkage, रेलवे स्लाइडिंग्स, तब जाके एक पावर प्लांट कमीशन होगा. सो वॉट एवर इज देयर टुडे and whatever we want tomorrow, it will take 4 years to reach there. So the downstream products, the electrical infrastructure, it will be required down the line 4 years. So real demand will come 4 years down the line. Now with a lot of momentum in the solar space, this 4 years has reduced to 6 months. So power cannot be stored. जैसे ही सोलर कमीशन होता है, immediately you require the infrastructure to transmit it to different regions. So transmission lines. तो आप देख रहे हो कि KEC has a lot of full order book growing day by day. Down the line, when this power is transmitted to a place, the distribution will be required. So transformers will be required. Because transformers will be required, transformer oil will be required. So kind of Savita oil or APAR. So they are running ahead. And once it is utilized, another aspect is a lot of people are going for automation with the mounting labor problems across industries. After Corona, what we have observed is that people are finding it difficult to have appropriate labor force. So obviously, automation is gaining traction. In all automation products, one ancillary would be motors. No automation can happen without motor. Another shot is coming from EV space. EV will have extra motors. So the good names in motors one can find easily. And if such a company is passing through a bad phase, then a bright future is coming ahead. I would request all of you to just, this is a hint, and can look into this space. In case of transformers, if we look at result in March, a tiny company, Baroda-based company called Silchar Technologies. It was quoting around 150, 200 in between. And yesterday, it hit life high. Even despite this falling market, it touched high of, it closed at 718. So this is a simple logic that because of this solar, the ancillaries in the downstream will have huge demand, and the entire demand will come forward. So probably if they are not making good margins right now, because of the huge demand, they will have improved margins. The metals are falling now. So that will add to the margins. So a good time I see for this electrical ancillaries, all electrical ancillaries. So this is how we try to find out. Another aspect could be the observation across. कहीं भी आप देख रहे हैं, अगर आपने रेलवे में ट्रैवल किया है in last 6 months, 1 year, you will find that now no station is dirty. It is because of the anaerobic toilets introduced in the railway. We have not talked of miseries. I'll mention one misery. And there was a company in Kolkata called Stone India. Stone India had a patent for anaerobic toilet. And they were talking to railways. And somehow even they had tie-up for escalators. Basically, they were dealing with railway products. And a very good journey from maybe around 10 rupees to 96 rupees at that time. And all of a sudden, on one fine morning, they said that premises are not accessible. Even if you go today right now and look at their announcements, the past announcements, the only thing they are declaring is that we cannot give the results because premises are not accessible. God knows what happened. A fantastic company doing very good business with the railways, and all of a sudden went into abeyance. Nobody knows what happens. The rest of the stock that we were holding, we lost all the money. So yes, we need to double check with the promoters. We came across one promoter in nearby vicinity in Gandhinagar. They are making aluminum utensils, and there are a lot of merchandise exports. People who are exporting are buying from them. When we visited, we saw very filthy conditions. Even workers, if you look at, no safety gears while they are dealing with hazardous chemicals for polishing, etc. What I noticed was that promoter, every time, promoter, whenever it gets into lows, promoter buys a lot. Whenever it gets high, he offloads. So I asked, sir, आपने भी थोड़ा ये तो किया है? He winked and he says, यार थोड़ा तो करना पड़ता है. So we cannot trust such promoters. The only bet would be जब ये बहुत गिर जाए, when it is around 10 rupees, you buy, he will take it further. वो खुद जो भी करना है करेंगे. But yes, I'll not go with them. So for all the microcap investors, digging deeper is a must. At least have references. Another aspect would be, if you are not very sure of the long-term prospects or the fine details, at least normally what I do is, at certain stage I take out my capital. So even if it fails, because my two biggest failures where I have lost 100%, and one of them in both these cases I visited them, and in one case I visited them 4 times. In fact, a friend also warned me that, look, Mr. X is MD, so you need to be careful. When we visited, the plant is fantastic. They have got all who's who in pharma as their clients. Consistent US FDA approval, even GMP approval. It's a pharma packaging company. And whenever I visited, talk to people, talk to technical people, even the underground plant, and if you are standing on that, you will not feel any humming. Such good quality things. The only part was that because it was so good, promoter constantly raised debt on this company. And at arm length, they siphoned everything into their private arm. So this came to notice when annual report came out, and there was nothing left in this company. Though it is still working, it went under NCLT. So this is a fraud. So it is very difficult to overcome such an issue. Same was with a case with a South-based cement company, a very small cement company, doing very good, but same, the promoter siphoned off everything into their private arm. So ultimately delisted, and we lost 100% there. And yes, in both these cases, we had scaled up because we were so confident that yes, company is doing very good. So this is a pitfall. Yes. Another aspect that I would like to mention here is that it is not only that because it went down and we lost everything. Notionally, we lost a lot by leaving early. Uh, in much earlier cycle when crude was going up and Goldman Sachs had predicted 250 on crude. So that was the time we were just looking at the alternatives. That if crude goes to 250, alternative energy would be in demand. At that time, not many people were there, but we found that a company called BF Utility was in wind power. A very few companies at that time. So just betting on that wind power, we bought it. Then a good friend in a brokerage house, very good manager, he was just asking that can we recommend it to other clients? What is the target? I said at least it looks like it could reach double in 2 years if the crude continues to boil like this. So he also recommended to his clients, and they also bought a lot. In about 1.5 months, he called me. I was in a meeting, so I did not take the call. I cut it. He's such a professional; he would not call again. But he called again. So I understood that there is something urgent. So I just picked his call, went down and said that okay, what is the issue? He said जो 2 साल में आने वाला था वो 1.5 महीने में आ गया है. It is double. तो क्या करें? So I was busy with the meeting. So I said आपको जैसा ठीक लगे कर दीजिए. So obviously his mandate was he is a professional. So he sold everything. And in about another 3-4 months, it touched 100 rupees. Then I realized that I have done some big mistake there. So I requested the company to send me balance sheet for subsidiaries. To my utter surprise, they sent it just in a day. When I went through it, I realized that we had encased only tip. The iceberg was just below. It had subsidiaries wherein the entire land parcel ranging from Bangalore to Mysore, they had acquired in Nandi Infrastructure, a subsidiary company. And they had holdings in all. BF Utility was basically Bharat Forge Group. So ultimately, but then psychologically, what I had sold for 36 rupees, I could not buy it 100 rupees. That was another mistake. And it went up to nearly 3,200 at that time. And yes, I know an investor, a Mumbai-based investor whom we had met. He bought it 100 rupees and scaled it up like anything. And then he visited Supreme Court, in which the case was ongoing, nearly more than 25 times. He'll simply listen to the arguments to figure out whether company will win this case or not. And when he thought that okay, full value is reached at around 3,000 rupees, he exited in full. So that was a wonderful thing. And I realized another similar case was with Tasty Bites. My daughter was at Bangalore she was doing her graduation, and she also has some academic inclinations. So she was writing some papers, and one of her papers was selected in a conference in Taiwan. So she was to visit Taiwan. I advise her that being vegetarians, you will not find much to eat in Taiwan. Uh, she did not listen. She said कि पापा ऐसा नहीं होता है, वहाँ जो मिलता है वो खाना पड़ता है. I said fine, you experiment there. She did not get anything. She had to do with salads because most other things were non-veg. So then I thought that like we have a lot of students and a lot of people traveling abroad. And in India, we find many communities, especially Jains, uh, who are pure veg people, and they're quite capable of traveling abroad. So some ready-to-eat kind of foods will be in demand. So I just went through some of the packages. I found that poha and upma were very delicious. And in that, we came across a company, Tasty Bite. So we just looking to the trend that yes, it can go very well. We bought a few at around 40 rupees. In about 2 years, 2.5 years, it reached 260. And then in a quarterly result, uh, they they did not perform very well. So being extra smart, we thought that yes, it is time to offload, and we sold it for 260. We were very happy that from 40 to 260, we have got very good deal. And again, it came down to around 210. So we were again happy that yes, we are smart, but we missed the trend, and ultimately it touched 20,000 rupees. So yes, I believe that if there is a concept wherein a company gains good traction, is a pioneer, people are hardworking, and balance sheet is strengthening, uh, we must give it sufficient time to grow. Maybe we can pull out our own capital, so that we'll not end up in losses. That could be one of the ways out there. So this is how I look at different microcaps. Another way out is just looking at the gainers list. If you look at the gainers list, then there would be certain unknown names. So there must be reason. Either some operator is there, or there is something cooking inside. So we just go through it, and then we find that okay, out of 10, at least one would be there, which is more interesting to look further.
So the gainers list you are talking about is 52-week high you are talking about, or any other?
The daily gainers list. Another method is that with help of a friend who did a lot of work for us while I was in water supply. My real appreciation for a guy from absolute rural background. Believe me, at times he is not. He doesn't spell correct very simple words. That's the level of the language, but he is really techy. So, in fact, nearly single-handedly, he built the complete enterprise solution for us. All aspects, projects, finance, accounts, HR, everything he created nearly single-handedly in just about 2 years time. So I requested him, is Mr. Dilip. I requested him to do me a favor and pull the daily data from BSC site and put it in terms of the percentage in last 52 years. Where is it? Suppose one stack for one stock low was 10 rupees, high was 40. Right now it is at let's say 20. So in the gap of 30 rupees that it traveled within a year, it is at 20, means at 50% of the delta. So I find it interesting the stocks where they turn from the bottom. So in bottom 10% categories and in top 10% categories, something which is breaking out. So there must be reason, and a nice theory somebody told me that yes, breaking out means when price is above a certain level, where all the people who have entered it below that level are now in profit. So when it hits a lifetime high, now nobody is in loss. So whosoever wanted to leave have already left. So stronger people are committed to it, and that will give strength to the stock. So that is the meaning of all-time high. So yes, altogether there is a risk if it reverts from just sitting there. But this is also a method I try to look into. Another very fantastic thing is networking. I know something, you know something. So as I see a lot of very enthusiastic people here, 1 plus 1 we can make 11. Yes, please.
And so in terms of, I have more question related to what you have already shared. So when you're talking about the gainers list, do you also put in the maximum market cap only below which you will be looking at it, or do you look at all companies there?
Yes, as such I look at all companies. Uh, okay. Over a period, I have devised a method for myself. I divide stocks into broad 4 categories: A, B, C, D. A is Reliance. Maybe 1,000, maybe 10,000 analysts know everything of Reliance. And अगर मुकेश सर को जुकाम भी हुआ, so it will be news. So everything is discovered, and it is incrementally discovered every day. So difficult to understand such a giant, at least for me. So I don't buy. So what is already in A, I don't put fresh capital there. Then there are B. B क्या है? Now Balaji Amines is B. Now it has reached a stage where market cap is very respectable. It is well discovered. A lot of analysts are tracking, and we'll get regular updates from the company, uh, from the people like SmartSync, who are constantly looking at such good companies. So I don't buy B. I wish I'll buy in C or D and they reach to B. C is what? Companies where they are in nascent stage. Some new area is coming up. Recently, last week, we visited Hyderabad. We met with some company in CR space, clinical research. So uh, they were very warm to us. They explained that the two major clusters, Hyderabad and Ahmedabad, are there, where such companies are there. Ahmedabad owns two big companies in this space, Lambda and Vida. They are both unlisted. In listed space, there are some companies, but they are tiny. In Hyderabad, there are similar tiny companies in this space. What is going to happen is, as he advised, in 24-25, lot of existing drugs are going off patent. So there are two ways out, especially in US and Europe. The challenger, when a drug goes off patent, a challenger company, the whosoever gets the first approval will have exclusivity for 6 months. So they'll make good margins, very good margins. Our Dr. Reddy's and Ranbaxy's have made very good money over there. in this space. To launch a generic to an existing product, they will require to go through a what they call bioanalytical and biosimilar studies, BAB studies. And if pharma companies are coming out with a new chemical entity NC, they will have to go through clinical research. These are two main areas. And then there is another area called pharmacovigilance. So effects of a drug already introduced in the market, they will have to keep a track on and work out for any adverse impacts or any complaints over there, and we'll have to comply with that. So Hyderabad is such a place where you get very good talent relatively cheaper. So that is an advantage. People are quite, we could observe that people there are quite workaholic, very disciplined. For this market to develop in 24-25, they need to take these studies at least 2 years ahead. So now it is time that they will be gaining a lot of traction. With rupee falling to these levels, it has become cheaper for them to get such work outsourced through Indian companies. So there is a possibility that, yes, a lot of foreign companies also would like to get their work done through Indian companies. They're well established. And yes, in November 11, 13, there is an expo in Germany where many companies from this list, they are participating. So I found them very optimistic on the business prospects. But it may not work out in next 1-2 quarters, because the BAB studies that they take, they range from maybe 3 months to it can span up to 2 years. But yes, the space is interesting. So we'll keep on looking new companies. Maybe Vida is probably, they have already filed their IPO and probably got approval from SEBI and will be coming out. When Vida will come out, this space will be highlighted. And then some TV news anchors will also talk on that. And it is this time when most of the people will start searching on that. So it's a good space over there. So this is also another way out. In fact, if time permits, I would like to narrate a very rare case in Indian corporate world. Probably not even in India. At global level, that would be a rarest of the rare case. Please go ahead.
Sir, if you keep on speaking for the whole night, I'm sure I will not mind. Akhilesh will not mind, and I can count on a few Mission Smile members who will also not mind listening to you. So you have all the time. You tell us when to stop, so we can continue for as long as possible.
Oh, okay, I'll narrate this one. It's so interesting, especially the insight to be taken from this example. Even I'll name it because it is in public domain. There is a company called Investment Precision Casting and another company, Steelcast. They are both into casting business. They are based at Bhavnagar in Gujarat. Bhavnagar has a adjacent scrap yard, along shipyard, where many ships are coming for breaking. Initially, my assumption was that because they get a lot of cheap steel out of that scrap material, it would be very advantageous for them to get into this casting. We went through these two and found that Investment Precision Casting had an export unit, which they hived off, and the cousins were separated. They divided it, and that is named as Tamboli Capital. Why it is a capital company? Because of the probably the method that they required to hive off. So this was Tamboli Casting is a subsidiary of Tamboli Capital. So if one looks at name Tamboli Capital, probably would not be much interested. such a tiny company. Another misleading thing is on BSc website. When you refer to BSc website, the turnover that they show is standalone. So you will find meager, a very tiny turnover there. But the real business is into subsidiary, which is Tamboli Casting. Mr. Vaibhav Tamboli, who is a fantastic guy. I really appreciate and admire him. In this period, he has worked very hard and developed a very good business for himself. They had a rough patch. An incident happened when a brother stabbed a brother in the board meeting. It is never heard of anywhere in the world. And then there were the consequences that probably he was unable to take care of the business for some time. And to utter surprise, that in that period he turned out the best result. Because of this issue, obviously their image was tarnished in the public space. Finally, this was settled in the family. They already announced it, and now he is in complete command. So the very interesting thing that I found when we looked at Tamboli Casting was that they were doing such a tiny company in Bhavnagar, a remote corner as such, were doing work for Bosch. Even they had very luminary international clients, and they were supplying parts like clutch plates, boxes to very well-known international players. So I was wondering how such a small company can crack deals with such big multinationals. And then we met with Mr. Vaibhav. He was obviously very warm, explained everything. We had a visit in the factory. We again visited recently. It was available at that time around 15-20 rupees for 5 years back. Now it has reached around 130, 120, 130. But what I see is that, yes, gradually he has all the elements. Now they are dealing in different, they have diversified into castings for automobiles, defense. Another impressive part when we visited was they had 2 robotic arms. Now they have SAP implementation. And in last visit, what we could see is that they have started a facility for lunch, free lunch to all the employees. They have nearly more than 300 people. So taking care of employees is a very good sign, a very conducive environment. A very learned person looks, because he could crack the deals himself with such multinationals in Europe who are very choosy on quality. So it makes a sound case to be with the company for at least next 5 years. So this is, I would like to stress to all the microcap investors that just because they are very small, they are in C or D category. So yes, they are vulnerable. The last part is D, where something was very sparkling in past, and because of some mistakes or some environmental issues from the external side, it fell down. Like some company was going very good, they thought of big expansions, and just when they completed the expansion, the demand died down. So they were then saddened with a lot of debt and probably could not repay it. A lot of miseries happening with them. Now, after so many years, something has again come up. Maybe a change in management, new generation is taking up, deploying latest technologies, have got good business traction, and are coming up. Such cases are fantastic multibaggers. In last 2 years, one such case was Renuka Sugars. If you look at it, was languishing at 8 rupees, 8 to 10 rupees. The promoters were getting out because the Brazil acquisition that they did, it did not work out. They suffered a lot, and finally Wilmer took over. Now, if you look at that, with sugar cycle turning up, and they have more than 700 kiloliter per day ethanol capacity, highest in Indian industry. Ethanol going in much demand, with crude going up. So they have दोनों हाथ में लड्डू आ गए. With crop failure in Brazil, the sugar cycle turned up so well, and from 8 rupees in 2 years' time, it hit 60 rupees. Now they have increased capacity, and as per latest announcement, in December next, they are going to reach 1200 kiloliters per day ethanol capacity. Another good news is that in crop patterns, two crops, sugar and cotton, their acreage has gone up by nearly 8 to 10%, whereas rice has gone down. So a lot of sugar cane will be available in this crushing season. So on raw material fronts, they are good. If there is a glut, government would not like to give subsidy as they did in last year. Government gave 6,000 crore rupees as export subsidy to sugar producers so that they can sell and clear dues to farmers. Rather than giving export subsidy, obviously government would prefer to give more enhanced price for ethanol, which is import substitute. So Renuka, even from here, looks good. But there was a deep value at 8 rupees in Renuka. So it was in D category. So some such other good picks that we could muster. One of them was Moschip Technologies, with a lot of focus going on semiconductors. And yes, some very good technical people have discussed that India cannot go for fabrication very well on its own. China did it, spent nearly $50 billion rupees, spent 10 years, but still China on its own is yet not producing very high value chips. Majority of the factories are owned by European or American companies. So he was advocating for India not to go for fabrication on its own. Rather than the prowess of Indian tech is on software side, that is design. And Moschip is dealing with fab design. So it's a fabless company as such. They don't have manufacturing, but they are a design company. And with a vast pool of talent in India, and the semiconductor industry getting a lot of focus from government as well as private sector, Moschip has very good scope for growing from even from here. It has already reached maybe around 8, 10 to 70 now. So such multi-baggers are very sweet. Where it picked up at right moment, your risk reward is extremely favorable. At risk of 2 rupees, Moschip was very, very cheap and valuable. So this is how I classify them into A, B, C, D. My focus remains on C with some 5 to 10% allocation to D. So out of 10 in D, I am very sure 2 will die down. I'll lose all the money. Even if 2 gets pass the levels as I think them to, then it will recover everything and will give good capital for investing in C. And that's how I work.
It's fascinating to hear and learn, Atul sir. So that brings me to the question as to how many stocks are there in your portfolio in that sense. I'm assuming 100 to honge hi.
Yes, not
So
exactly
how,
100,
so how
but
do you manage to track them then?
yes. As I said, my method is that, okay, if I see something going to B category, at appropriate time, I pull out my capital and then I allow them to grow, because then I'm passive there. So in a similar case, when we gifted one karma, a product by Saregama, to my sister-in-law, when I saw the product itself, I realized that this will go great because of the golden hits and the rights to it, with 5,000 songs into it, and especially that was targeted at people in the bracket above 50 who are not very comfortable with technology and would like these songs to be played at ease, and would love to pay 6,000-8,000 rupees for this product, which probably would cost them just 300-400 rupees. So great margin is there. And another very good scope would be online. So as young people go online and they would listen to the old jewels, they'll pay tiny sums as royalty, but that will be a huge sum. So at about 150 rupees, Saregama was juicy again at that time. So I don't think of selling Saregama. So this is how maybe the numbers will keep growing. But then at appropriate, as I said, for kill paste, I found that enough value is reached. Or something like Gujarat foil, it died down on its own, zero. So in that way, it helps reduce the numbers.
So is it fair to say that yeah, a bulk of your portfolio would have, as in mentally you would think that you are only investing in C and D category. B में जो है उसमें से तो आपने capital निकाल ही लिया है. So you mentally don't think about them, right?
Right.
So if we only consider C and D, then the number of stocks would be much lesser, right?
Yes, in initial stages, that will be a greater number, because now what I see is that lot of sectors, lot of companies are turning. As many luminaries are advocating that India is, yes, we are passing through a great growth phase with advantage of demographics in our favor. Uh, India is manufacturing as well as consuming economy. So we are not equally vulnerable as only exporting or only importing countries. With lot of technology now available, easy availability to connectivity at much cheaper rates, all these factors are making manufacturing in India very attractive. That's my feeling. And lot of entrepreneurs, as we see in case of let's say Sheetal Cool products, when we in Gandhinagar we have an advantage. Uh, we have that exhibition center, a wonderful exhibition center created by government of Gujarat, and a lot of expos are coming up every year. So rather than going to people in various parts of country, we get chance to meet with them here itself. So we just wanted to have an ice cream, and I realized that Sheetal Cool has a very good quality of ice creams. We went through and found that uh, they are nowhere, probably even not graduates. They started with a pan ki dukan, And then they gradually introduced some beverages, local made beverages, and then they went ahead. So that's enterprise. So I feel that in India, that enterprise element is quite present across the board, and yes, that'll create a lot of C companies to travel to the path of B. So yes, even if we go into higher numbers, it mitigates probably some risk because C is always exposed to risk of size. If there is a longer period of difficulties, probably weathering the weather would be a bit difficult for them. So some specific sectors, like there was a case with one company called Noble Explochem. They were into explosives, and because of certain incidents and security reasons, all of a sudden, government banned the product. That was the only product. So simply government banned. They cannot do anything. So from whatever level it was there, next day it was zero. So yes, such vulnerabilities would be there, but going through them would be not only joyful, would be very rewarding.
So, sir, I didn't get my answer even now. So I'm just reframing the question again. So as I could understand, 90% आपका आप C में डालते हो and 10% you put in D.
Yes.
So roughly, what would be the amount of number of stocks in C and D? Roughly, I don't need the exact number.
Yes, C would be something around 30, and D would be around maybe 10 to 15, uh, uh, with some dead bodies.
Right. Thank you so much. That really helped. So moving on to the next question, sir. I think a part of it you have already covered. So this is more of a macro question actually. So many seasoned investors have repeatedly mentioned that the stars are aligned for our nation. Many investors very strongly believe that this decade is going to be India's decade. Do you think microcap space would see a lot of strength from a longer term perspective? Of course, from a shorter term, we'll always have a top being made and then people getting stuck, weaker hands getting out, stronger hands again coming in. So, if yes, what would be your advice to someone like me who has never invested in the microcap space and wishes to take baby steps towards learning this art?
Yes. One important aspect would be to uh, to be prepared for some failures, because as I explained, there are extreme cases on both sides. So yes, because of one or other reason, if it fails, then uh, one strategy could be getting out very quickly. If one is mentally prepared for that, definitely one can venture here. Even otherwise, what I think is that yes, what is the kind of return that one is expecting? There are a lot of mutual funds, a lot of fund houses, advisors, PMS, and they deliver very percentage of return. Uh, Maybe some very good funds in the range of in upper bracket of 20-30. Bank is paying 5%. So many people are satisfied with 10. So if that is the mental, better you stick to A and B, because that space is relatively safer and will deliver on discounts. C will have to work a little, or one can start gradually into C. If you are allocating, if you are right now, let's say 90 into A and 10 into B, then probably you can start with 5 in C. So as I said, what is the next theme? If you look at such themes, and then zero in on certain companies like in this ensuing theme, which is likely to grow well in next 3, 4, 5 years. I'll tell you one thing: the best returns that I have got are usually in 5 years. From selection to its real value, it has taken nearly 5 years in most cases, 5 to 6 years. So, yes, grace of God, if we get kill pest in certain time frame, wherein we get a lot of capital, or the corona was probably some very unusual period where most of the investors were frightened and did not want to take any bet, and so value was very deep. So when it bounced back, uh, easily it delivered 2, 3, 4, 5, 10x returns in many such stocks. As I discussed, this Somani Ceramics, such a good brand, such a good company, and it went to 10%, and again bounced back nearly 70% from there on. So at 800 rupees, that's normal. Now it's a normal value for Somani Ceramic. So I don't see 1600 coming up very fast. So it's better to exit. We exited Somani. So Somani was in B, but available at price of C. So definitely I would suggest that everybody must have C or even some D in one's portfolio. D, you put very little capital, experiment with it, and be prepared to lose it. In most cases, even though we think that in Indo-Borex we would lose 6, but no, it would not be 6, it would be 3. At least you will get 3.
Right.
But there are lot of companies turning around now, as I see from the ever-growing list, and there will be a lot of opportunities even in that D space. Another space is SME. In fact, with his permission, I would like to introduce on this forum itself uh, one fantastic investor uh, who is mainly into D, not even C, and his journey is even more wonderful. And another part is that he's quite young. Yes, I'll
Atul,
definitely talk to him, and will
thank you so
try
much.
that he's introduced.
Great, great, great. Sir, I'll definitely get in touch with you regarding that gentleman, and we would love to have him as soon as possible.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, moving on to the last 2, 3 questions before we take questions from the audience. Sir, it's 9:10, and I hope if you want some 5, 10 minutes break, pani wani pina ho, so you can.
Yeah. I'll be back in 2 minutes.
Sure, 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 sure. So I see 2 hands being raised. We'll take up your questions. We have already covered most of the questions. I wanted to give some break to Atul sir so that we can again have him fully charged, and we can probably lengthen the session, right? अभी अगर नहीं ब्रेक देते तो शायद वो उनको ज्यादा देर तक कंटिन्यू करने में थोड़ा डिफिकल्टी होता है, right? So I hope all of you would have enjoyed the session so far. The only request from our team at SmartSync Services is that please try to spread the word, tag our Twitter handle, and tweet about it so that more and more like-minded investors get to know about it. And there are many, I should not say many, but there are other investors like Atulji, and this is what we wanted to highlight through this session and this platform of Mission Smile is that what you see on social media is, so Atulji, for example, is not at all active on social media. So the main guys, the guys who are doing the real work do not need to be on social media because they are already making a lot of money. They don't need to lure the retail investors and try to make some money off them, right? These are people who actually make money with their friends, with their retail investors, right? So that is the kind of people or investors we should associate more with, rather than getting lured by the screenshots and the provocative tweets which we see on a daily basis, right? So I think Atul sir will be back soon. I'll just repeat once again. Our Mission Smile subscription uh, only till the session last is available at 20% discount. People who have just joined in will have more sessions like this, and in fact, the small cap, um, the management of small cap companies or micro cap companies, those sessions will only be restricted for Mission Smile members. So if you want to join, want to get access to more of investors like Atulji, and as he mentioned about his own friend whom he will be calling, you can probably take this offer today. And I see Atulji back, so I'll get back to the questions. Thank you so much, Atul sir, for extending the session. So,
In fact, initially, as I told you, I was thinking that 1 hour would be more than enough, and probably people might not be able to bear me more than that.
so आपको मैंने बताया था सर, you remember our discussion on WhatsApp today. I told you na, that
Yes.
I let the guest and the audience decide. It is never SmartSync Services or Ankit Kanodia who is deciding how long the session will last. So I can see still more than 60 people staying there, waiting for you to speak more and more. So I'll shut up right now and I'll go back to the next question. So you have repeatedly highlighted the importance of meeting management or talking to them. So my next question, and of course, you made a very, very, very relevant point about being ethical. Even if you get something which you think is an insider trading kind of a thing, you chose always to not act on it. That's something which I have very rarely seen in many investors whom I have met. But my question to you is, how do you prepare for such meeting? So what kind of questions you ask and what kind of questions you avoid? Try to be as detailed as possible, because this is also very important, because right now many management is there accessible, right? पहले नहीं मिलते थे, आजकल बहुत सारे मैनेजमेंट मिलने के लिए भी तैयार हो जाते हैं. But asking the right question, getting the best out of them is also an art, right? So that is what we want to learn from you today.
Okay. सबसे पहले ये है कि if you find some particular companies where we think that we want to see in them 10 parameters, and there are 9 out of 10 present. In that case, whether it is 10 out of 10 or not, meeting with the management will help. Another aspect is, at times we have some assumptions that, okay, this is product, this is market. When we meet with the management, a lot of new perspectives are opened up before us. In one case where we have a company from Ahmedabad, which is Dynamic Products. When first I met with the director, promoter director, he's a very simple guy, a very plain speak, and very genuine. I was thinking that this dyes, food colors that they are manufacturing. My understanding was that food color was mainly used in ice creams and in certain pharma, where you have to eat the color. Something will go into restaurant where they make palak paneer very green. So when we discussed with him, I could come across certain uses that I never thought of. He said that the very rich people in UP, when they play Holi, they don't want their skin to be affected. They'll play with food color, because when it is safe to eat, it is safe for the skin. So it is for very rich people. He said that in Gulf countries, there are some 7-star resorts near the seashore, and they want their swimming pool water to look same sparkling blue. So they will use food color. So these are the insights that we get. Normally, when we approach management, we first chew the balance sheet. So there you cannot in whatever limited time. Usually they also will, because they cannot give time to everybody for so long. So we need to be very specific. We must know the history, uh, the position of balance sheet, relative strengths and weaknesses. So at least all our study must be complete before we meet them. And then we can have questions where appropriate, like as I said in flat products, which is now John Cochrane. The key question was why you are not getting the margins, and is there any way out that margins will improve? So that was the key. So as he just said that now escalation clauses are built into new agreements, new orders. So everything was clear. No further question was required. So yes, generally first I try to understand the overall business from their perspective. And once it is there, then we compare it with our perception. And then where are the gaps? Especially in many as I explained in case of that Dujodwala product, uh, the promoter was obviously very busy with his work, and probably he at that time never realized the importance of talking to the stakeholders. So they were not prepared. We could not visit them. But telephonically also, at times, yes, it helps. In one such case, in fact, through this platform, I would like to put it to the notice of many investors that there are uh, many things that needs improvement on exchanges. In fact, as a platform, we are also thinking to have at least some platform where from we can represent to uh, exchange authorities, SEBI, on certain practices like disclosures. So disclosures have to be in time. Unless it is there, and even if they pay some penalty, the penalty to retail investor is much higher. जब घोड़े चले गए फिर तबले को आप ताला लगा के क्या करोगे? उसके बाद अगर प्रमोटर को कोई पनिशमेंट भी मिलता है तो उससे it cannot repair the damage to the retail investor. Another aspect that right now we are highlighting is the GSM categories. In fact, I talked to them and they said that there is a mechanism for placing some companies into GSM categories. 1, 2, 3, 4 like. If it goes to 4, recently अगर आपने देखा हो, observe किया हो, one company, again microcap, unique organic. Usko all of a sudden they pushed it to GSM 4. If it is in GSM 4, it means you have to pay double the money. Number one, it will be traded only on Monday, and in certain cases on hourly basis. So most of the big brokerage houses will not allow client to trade at the first instance. So they lose opportunity. अगर उसमें कुछ भी अच्छा है वाकई, and if you can see that जब उसको GSM 4 में डाल दिया तो सेलर सर्किट लग गए, और एक वीक में निकाल दिया और बायर सर्किट लग गए. So this is not in the interest of at least retail shareholders, and at some platform we must raise some voice on this so that it is transparent. When I asked with the authorities, they said कि ये secret है. Formula to place and bring it out is secret. I ask पब्लिक डोमेन में जो चीज है आप कैसे ऐसे सीक्रेट रख सकते हो? But anyway,
That's a very important point, sir. And as I was sharing with you today only, so I met a gentleman in Bangalore yesterday only, who is doing fantastic work in terms of educating both on the corporate side and also on the investor side how to work on corporate governance.
that
So,
would be
and I
fantastic.
have also got an in principle approval from him that he will also come on our platform and educate. So that would be a good learning experience not only for the investor group but also for some microcap businesses, right? So that they can उनका फाउंडेशन लेवल पे ही वो उनको पता रहेगा क्योंकि बहुत सारे बिजनेसेस को पता भी नहीं होता कि वो गलत कर रहे हैं, राइट?
Yes,
Like
yes.
this gentleman asked me not to share it, but since I'm not taking his name, I can share right now. Is that Symphony hired him in 2016 or no, sorry, 2014 to know from him what all they can do to enhance their corporate governance so that there is no zero red flag from the company's side.
Exactly. And they'll be valued much higher.
Exactly, exactly. So we'll have him soon. Let's see when he comes.
Yes, we'll
Yeah,
wait
please
for it.
continue, sir.
Yes,
So
so
you've spoken about what kind of questions you ask. You can probably expand more on that, but I also want to know what kind of questions you avoid.
yes. The first thing that we avoid is asking for any specific numbers next, because that will tantamount to insider. तो अगर कल मैं किसी से मिलता हूँ, maybe this next Wednesday, Tuesday or Wednesday, we'll be meeting one management. We tried from other sources and somehow it didn't work. Then I sent a direct request and they accepted. So obviously now we are very near to the September results. So obviously we cannot ask कि भाई आप ये क्वार्टर में कितना हो गया. We ask general questions. The broad, एक साल में, 2 साल में, 5 साल में आपका विजन क्या है? What is the competition? Why you are different? या बाकी के लोगों का मार्जिन आ रहा है, आपका क्यों नहीं आ रहा है? कोई impending. Recently when we visited Hyderabad, we came to know one hidden aspect of a company. It's in cement space. They have got 96 acres of land in Karnataka, and that is now into a new district being formed. So most probably with new district being formed, they will require all sort of administrative offices, machineries over there. So that 96 acres would be probably more than the complete market cap. Right? But yes, we personally I feel that we must remain ethical only and should not be asking any such numbers or maybe some personal things that they would not like to disclose.
So, sir, you may not ask them about, say, September result when you meet them, but there would be instances when the management itself starts being self-promoting and tell you upfront कि क्या number आने वाले हैं, या some guidance in that sense. So, do you take that extremely negatively, or do you understand that, see, management as a मतलब उनका काम ही यही है कि अपनी कंपनी को प्रमोट करना. So they might be a little unethical by saying that, but some of them might not be doing it with a very malified intention, right? So how do you look at that?
Yes, you are very right on that. As such, even like retail investors are not much educated by many such initiatives like Smart Sync service or any other platforms. Similarly, there are many promoters who are not much aware of the aspects of corporate governance requirements. But they're still in a very primitive condition, I would say. So they don't mind sharing. they'll share everything. And then at times we find that there are promoters who intentionally would like to promote it. Like long back, when in that software boom era, I sent a mail to a company that, sir, how you look at this business and what are the prospects? He sent me a mail. He gave projection for 7 years, complete projection, turnover and gross profit, net profit, everything. And then in the mail, lastly, he said that this is secret. Please don't share. What was the idea to share with me? So
So
it went up.
when you want people to talk about something, you purposefully tell them that please don't share it, so that
Please
they
don't
go
share.
and share it with as many people as they want.
So we obviously we need to take it with a pinch of salt, and at least credibility is an issue. But simultaneously, we have found that there are people who are as such very genuine and with no such intention. They would reveal everything. They are just good at heart and don't understand that this will not fall within corporate governance standards.
So just last two questions before we take questions from the chat box. So how important is networking with like-minded investors is in your view? What are the advantages? And also, are there any pitfalls?
Okay. Of late, I'm feeling that it is very, very important because I cannot reach everywhere. If I have Ankit ji at Bangalore, I know him well. If there is something in Bangalore, I can definitely refer directly to him. Like one of your friends in Delhi, right? He was interested in some company in Ahmedabad, and today itself, okay, it was a bit delayed, but today we got response from the
Okay.
company that okay, they're ready to meet with.
Oh.
So it will save a lot of efforts, time. Plus, there are limitations on study, the available time, available resources. So obviously, this is something like 1 + 1 = 11. And yes, I meet with the another aspect is every time I see some brilliant people whenever we meet, either in promoters, even on airports, or in trains. I'm very happy to see that while I was traveling to Varanasi in train, I met with one person. In fact, I was trying to visit Frontier Springs, and the company secretary, Mr. Dhruv Sani, is very warm host. In fact, he said that yes, whenever you come, I will do appropriate arrangements for you. I just happened to talk to that fellow and found that he was going in the same place, and he was actually a third-party inspector. So he was going to inspect Frontier Springs. So rather than Frontier Springs saying that we are good, I could get very good insights from him that never in the history they had any rejection. So that was a mark on their quality. So networking is very important, and yes, now means are very easy. Corona has made us all of us to go online. That is also a very good way out. And then there are investor conferences, or there is one very good work done by Tamil Nadu Investor Association. That is probably only association I find. Though in this segment, most Gujarati and Rajasthani background investors are there. The only investor association I find is in Tamil Nadu. Mr. Shyam Sekhar is doing a fantastic job. And yes, in fact, all states or cities must think of, investors must think of creating such platforms. That will help a lot to share each other.
Maybe you can start with Gujarat Association.
At least today we were discussing that we can start with Gandhinagar Association.
Yeah, that. So as the saying goes, uh, all all big revolution starts with one single step, right? So that would be great. Even if we can start something from Gandhinagar, and then I'm sure more and more people will join, and it will become something really big. So
You already started that on this platform.
thank you so much. And we need blessings from investors like you so that we can continue this. So starting is something easy, but as
Yes, yes.
I think I was reading somewhere, so intensity is more than consistency is more than intensity, right? So you
Right.
always have that intensity when you start, but how consistent you can be, that's something which matters, right? So I think I digressed a little bit. Uh, Moving on to my last question before I start the question from the chat box. Any particular investor or group of investors you admire? You have already spoken about Tamil Nadu Association and Shyam Shekhar sir. But any particular investor or investors or group of investors you admire in the space where from whom you have learned a lot?
Fortunately, in Gandhinagar, at that time, most people were in government service. There were very few businesses here. Um, One particular gentleman who was a mechanical engineer, and he took this as a mission himself. He devised his own methodology. At that time, there was no internet, no such, even phone calls were not easily available. It was all STD. He used to create a team and bring all newspapers across India from Kalupur railway station, Ahmedabad railway station, which is a big junction. So he had tied up with those people. So maybe 2 days, 3 days later, but he'll get everything. And in government service, uh, here in Gujarat, we find a lot of people from South India, especially in stenography and English. They were very good at it. So a lot of people were here. So even Telugu and Tamil and Marathi newspapers were coming to him, which was a great source at that time, which probably no other people had. So he used to collect all those information. He was Mr. Rajni Sanghvi. Unfortunately, I never met him, but he has a very good standing in all investors, at least who are here in Gandhinagar. He is quite well known. Likewise, on public platforms, uh, Mr. Khandelwal or one young chap doing fantastic job, Arun, creating networks and sharing a lot of things there. In fact, I also admire, I have a lot of admiration for Mr. Harshad Mehta. You see, uh, actually the equity cult and how it was done is a different part. But he was very instrumental in bringing about the importance of equity to the minds of people. So that was a sea change. So apart from personal traits or whatever happened, yes, he was a turning point where from a lot of people knew that this earlier. In fact, when I talked to my father also, at that time the impression was शेर सट्टे में नहीं पड़ना है. So शेर and satta was always associated. And in that generation, probably many people did not realize that these are two absolutely different things, and one could be really game changer.
Sir, I think your video has been stopped, or is it only me? Can someone just mention on the chat box? Can you see, sir? Yeah, now I can see you. Okay, great, great, great. So, sir, I'll just now start quickly with the questions which are there on the chat box. I'll avoid a few questions which I don't think we should ask you, but I'll try to take as many questions as possible. So, the first question comes from Devraj Bhai, who is also a very good investor. I know him personally and I've interacted with him. So, he asked how second generation, how do you judge as to second generation promoters? Will they be capable or not? How do you make any, do you have any checklist or do you have something in your mental model which helps you in figuring out whether second generation is capable or not?
Okay. Usually, the cases that we have come across is, you see, in India, many of the listed companies, as you see the annual report, it will say 46th annual report. So that is the first thing you will come to know, that this company is so it has gone through so many years, and especially through the announcements, we come to know that okay, so and so director relinquishes position, and in place so and so has come. So there is no particular. There are a lot of screeners like screener.in or many other such online software available right now, where you can screen out for certain numbers that a market cap above something and having reserves so and so, so and so. But there are no search available on certain keywords. When that becomes available, it will be very easy. Like you search for land sale. Whosoever company is selling land, maybe they are going for restructuring. Like recent case was DCM. DCM was around 45 rupees, 45.50. And then with the announcement came that they are selling a lot of land parcels in Isar. So if you know someone in Isar, you come to know what would be land price per biga or acre. So what would be the roughly price on that if they have not disclosed? And we take a call that okay, they have 50 crore debt and land itself will fetch 100 crore. So they will settle everything. And in that case, whether second generation is there or not, are they instrumental in taking such decisions, right? So, but no direct method.
Right. Thank you, sir. So Karthik asks a very interesting question. He says that small cap index between 2008 and 2015 returned 0%. So how did you perform as an investor during that period? What was your experience? If you can just share something about that.
2009 March was the worst month. Everything, in fact, I must admit that in 2001, some days I lost my sleep because I had switched to software from civil engineering to IT. I was a bit aware of what software is there, and I was looking at the possibility of the great run that software can do in India. So in that period, we had invested quite good in software. It worked out very well. The related entries like Himachal Futuristic, we had bought around 40 rupees. And we never thought that it will go so fast. And it reached 2,300 rupees. It was unbelievable for us. So I booked at every rise that this is not the value we can give it to. The only mistake that we did was when it reverted, we bought few. That was a trap. So the real good profit that we made by selling in time, we lost by buying not in time. That was a
Or
very good
maybe
lesson.
buying the wrong companies actually, right?
Buying a wrong company, right?
Yeah.
And I feel that there would be no investor who has not made mistakes. Otherwise, you don't learn.
Of course. So, sir, what about 2008 to 15, which the question
So
is?
yes, it was a difficult period, but uh, from 9 onwards, when bottom was almost in place, gradually so almost for 3 years, तो जहाँ हमारे they are very good friends or brokers, तो जाके बैठते थे, चाय पीते थे, पर हमने कभी ऐसा नहीं किया कि जाना छोड़ दिया. So that was a real difficult period. But yes, even within that, from I would say 2012 onwards, we started getting good picks. So subsequently in 2-3 years, it turned out very well. In 2014-15, we got very good gems. जितने भी सारे बहुत अच्छे मिले हैं उसमें से काफी 2014-15 के हैं, 14-15-16. So yes, as a whole, index may not perform. अच्छा, ये भी है कि when किसी को भी पूछते हैं कि मार्केट कैसा है, तो वी लुक एट इंडेक्स कि सेंसेक्स 150 नीचे है ऊपर है. दे रिप्रेजेंट जस्ट 30 कंपनीज. सो दैट्स नॉट द ब्रॉड मार्केट. आपको बहुत दिन ऐसा देखने को मिलेगा कि ब्रॉड मार्केट में बहुत अच्छी ब्रेथ है जबकि इंडेक्स डाउन है. सो यस,
Right.
प्लीज we could 12 onwards could get good results.
Sir, I think you have answered this question, but I'm still again asking this question. This is from Shivam. Shivam Shah is from our Triple S team only. So he's also based out of Baroda. So given that information on microcap companies is not as widely available, how can one form a qualitative and quantitative opinion on these companies? Which are the parameters to look for in these companies? So you have covered more or less this question. Anything else you want to add, or shall I move to the next question?
As I said, अगर आपको 9 out of 10 पेपर पे दिखता है, तो the 10th is to contact them, maybe visit them. कभी कभी ऐसा भी होता है कि जो पेपर पे दिखता है आप वहाँ जाके देखो. One interesting case happened in last about 6-7 months. Broadly, I look at themes. So uh, the guy who is my neighbor, his son is very fond of pizza. I was just observing कि हर 3 दिन में एक पिज्जा आ जाता है, उसका बॉक्स बाहर पड़ा रहता है. Then I checked with some younger people in circle कि भाई आप ऑनलाइन क्या मंगाते हो. तो इनफैक्ट वो सब कुछ ऑनलाइन ही मंगाते हैं. So I was just wondering कि जो भी मंगाते हैं, at least it'll have a great demand for packaging paper. सब कुछ पेपर बोर्ड में आता है, एंड इवन दैट इज रिसाइक्लेबल. पर जो टेप लगता है उसके ऊपर वो वन टाइम यूज है. अनदर थिंग आई फाउंड, जब मैंने थोड़ा ये रिनोवेट करवाया घर, तो जो फर्नीचर के लिए आते थे, तो अर्लियर दे यूज टू हैव नेल्स, हेडलेस नेल्स, वो फिक्स करने के लिए. उसकी जगह आप वो टेप लगाते हैं. यू विल सी दे आर यूजिंग वाइट टेप्स विच
Right.
इज इजियर फॉर देम, और वो खराब नहीं करेगा, मेहनत भी कम हो गई. दिस इज अ बिग यूज केस for tapes, adhesive tapes. I was looking into this space, तो हमें एक मिला था हिंदुस्तान एडहेसिव, अगेन माइक्रोकैप कंपनी, at 90 rupees. In about 3 quarters, it touched 500 rupees. Then we exited. We were looking at similar play. तो एक ऐसा मिला छोटा सोनल एडहेसिव, which is based at खोपोली. वेबसाइट पे 2012 का है डिटेल्स. एड्रेस जो है वहाँ कोई मुंबई का जो एड्रेस है, आई सेंट अ गाय, ई सेड के ये तो 4 साल पहले चले गए हैं, कि एक भी फ़ोन नंबर लग नहीं रहे थे. देन आई द गाय हु विजिटेड इन मुंबई, ई सेड के ठीक है मैं किसी को खोपोली भेजता हूँ. ही वेंट टू खोपोली. वहाँ जाके आई रिक्वेस्टेड कि भाई आप कुछ वहाँ से जो डिटेल मिले, कोई बंदा मिले, बात करवा दीजिए. आई वी टॉक टू देम कि भाई आपका कॉर्पोरेट गवर्नेंस कुछ है नहीं, तकलीफ होगी आपको, एटलीस्ट आस्क योर कंपनी सेक्रेटरी टू एटलीस्ट टॉक कि भाई क्या बात है, ये फ्रॉड तो नहीं है. बट देयर फिगर्स वर वेरी गुड, दे वर टर्निंग अप. देन वी चेक विद सम फ्रेंड्स ऑन जाओबा एक्सपोर्ट डेटा. उस डेटा में ही इज 9th एक्सपोर्टर. फर्स्ट इज हिंदुस्तान एडहेसिव, 9th इज सोनल. इट वाज गोइंग, तो बीएससी ने डाल दिया जीएसएम 4 में एट 12 रुपीज. और कोई था नहीं, वी बॉट फ्यू. Yesterday it touched 72 or revert हुआ है. Some say it is operator driven. We talked to company secretary. Company secretary was awarded with some good work award by good forum. So she said कि नहीं मतलब I know everything and कोई fraud नहीं है इसमें. This much homework paid us very well. So again, pull the capital, rest is there. तो ये जो बड़ा एक यूज केस बन रहा है, हर एक जैसे ई कॉमर्स ग्रो करेगा तो टैप भी ग्रो करेगा ही. देयर इज नो वे आउट. वी लुक एट थीम एंड विद इन दैट थीम कहीं ना कहीं ढूंढने से कुछ ना कुछ मिलता है.
एंसिलरी का एंसिलरी भी मिलता है.
एंसिलरी का एंसिलरी मिल जाता है.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, moving on to the next question, Mehul Mori, he asked this question: what sources of news you rely on? It is said that by the time news reaches retail investors, it is already factored in the stock price. So, any way to overcome this phenomenon?
Sir, you are very right. Normally, I would cite one incident. एक हमारे दोस्त है यहाँ पे, उनको they have very good friends in one company, टोरेंट फार्मा. एक दिन उनका कॉल आ गया कि ये टोरेंट फार्मा जो है ना वो एल्डर फार्मा ले रही है. तो बाइट ये कंफर्म न्यूज है. अभी चेक द चार्ट तो पता चला कि 6 महीने से somebody was accumulating. आई सेड कि अगर टोरेंट फार्मा को एल्डर फार्मा लेना है तो एक दिन में तो डिसाइड नहीं करेगा. ड्यू डिलिजेंस वुड बी देयर. वो जाएंगे आएंगे, बहुत लोग उनको देखेंगे, चौकीदार को भी पता होगा कि ये सर आते हैं. तो ये जो न्यूज जब तक बनेगी, रूमर तो स्प्रेड ऑलरेडी हो ही चुकी होगी. वी चेक एल्डर फार्मा ऑलरेडी एक ए लेवल से बी लेवल पे इतना आ गया है कि हार्डली देयर इज एनी वैल्यू लेफ्ट नाउ. तो नाउ द की क्वेश्चन इज एट व्हाट प्राइस टोरेंट विल बाय इट. तो इस सेड के नहीं भाई ये सब तय हो गया है और कल सर जाने वाले हैं और फिर टीवी में आएगा देखना. तो आई सजेस्टेड कि आपने किया है. तो दे हैड बॉट अ ह्यूज क्वांटिटी और उनको बहुत अच्छा प्रॉफिट हो रहा था 3 दिन में. बस आई सेड कि मेरा एक सजेशन है, आपको बहुत अच्छा पैसा मिल रहा है, आप ले लो. या तो कम से कम जब ये टीवी पे आ जाए ना, दैट विल बी न्यूज टू रिटेल इन्वेस्टर्स. पूरा बेच देना, एक ही झटके में पूरा बेच देना. एट दैट टाइम एल्डर फार्मा जो एंटरप्राइज वैल्यू थी उसकी वो नियरली 1700 करोड़ थी. दे बॉट इट फॉर 2000 करोड़ जो न्यूज आई उसके हिसाब से. एंड बाय दैट टाइम स्टॉक सर्ज 10%. तो फुल वैल्यू तो रीच हो गई. नाउ देयर इज नथिंग लेफ्ट फॉर रिटेल इन्वेस्टर या कोई भी जो नया इन्वेस्टर है उसके लिए. एंड दैट वाज द टाइम जिसने भी एक्यूमुलेट किया था दे डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड एवरीथिंग. और वेरी अनफॉर्चुनेट, एल्डर फार्मा इज नो मोर. दे लॉस्ट एवरीथिंग. तो बाद में जब ये गिर गया तो उनका फिर से कॉल आ गया कि अब क्या करें. आई सेड अगर हिम्मत है, नहीं है तो जुटा लो, लॉस बुक कर लो. जितना भी लॉस है बुक कर लो, जो मिल रहा है वो ले लो. डोंट स्टिक टू योर परचेज प्राइस बिकॉज मार्केट हैज नो रिलेवेंस विद आवर परचेज प्राइस. हमने किस रेट से लिया है मार्केट को कोई लेना देना नहीं है. तो हमेशा हमारा सेल डिसीजन जो है वो उसके प्रोस्पेक्ट पे ही होना चाहिए, ना कि अपने परचेज प्राइस पे. ये दिस इज मिस्ड बाय मोस्ट इन्वेस्टर्स. एंड एज आई हैव एक्सपीरियंस, इवन जो हम भी, आई ऑल्सो पास थ्रू दैट फेज कि हम जहां हमने लिया है हम 1 रुपया भी नीचे नहीं बेचना चाहते. कैसे भी हो जाए ये तो आएगा ही. सो दैट इज वाई व्हेन आवर ब्रोकर हु इज वेरी गुड एट टेक्निकल्स, मनीष भाई जो है, ही टोल्ड मी कि इन्फोसिस में भी ऐसा हुआ है कि 50 पैसे के लिए लोअर टॉप बना है. दैट शोज कि स्मार्ट पीपल आर विल नॉट वेट फॉर दैट 50 पैसा.
Thank you so much, sir. And very rightly said. I think one of the biggest mistake which we do as investors is we have that anchoring, price anchoring in our mind, right? So, sir, there's one question on Kaplan point by, I think, Vishant. So you may choose to not answer it if you want, but I'll just read the question. Recently, Saurabh Mukherjee exited citing reasons of capital misallocation in that company. Can you throw some light on that? You have the full liberty to not answer this question if you are uncomfortable. There is no pressure.
Yes. I'm quite comfortable there. The thing is that, okay, as I mentioned, one Mr. Arun Mukherjee, he's creating a good network of investors, and usually that he is hosting annual meets at some place, and a lot of such people. I came across one Mr. Khemka. He's a master at pharma segment. He has been handling a lot of pharma funds. He narrated a very good thing. He said that whenever a company goes to US, you should rethink. The reason is India has, in pharma space, India has brand prescription. US has content prescription. US में कोई डॉक्टर ये नहीं लिख सकते कि आप डोलो 650 लेना. They would write paracetamol. Now it is up to the pharmacist to show the client कि इसमें भाई 4 अवेलेबल है, ये $1 का है, ये 2 का है, ये 6 का है, 10 का है. What you would like to have? That is his choice. इंडिया में डॉक्टर्स अभी जो थोड़ा मैंडेट आ रहा है उसके ऊपर कि यू कैनॉट राइट, बट दैट्स अ जनरल प्रैक्टिस. दे राइट ब्रांड्स. तो इंडिया में जब भी एक ब्रांड बनेगा, इट विल कीप ऑन गेटिंग स्ट्रॉन्गर, क्योंकि डॉक्टर्स विल प्रिस्क्राइब दैट ब्रांड. जैसे कोरोना में ये डोलो 650 हो गया था, इट डिड ए ह्यूज बिजनेस. तो एक बार ब्रांड एस्टेब्लिश होता है तो उसका मार्जिन ऊपर जाएगा. यूएस में इट्स डिफरेंट स्टोरी. After some time, as competition comes in and they cannot prescribe the brand, lower price पे competition आएगा. So ultimately, margin will be in reducing territory. So Kaplan has now entered into US with injectables, and it is first time probably in this after 26 quarters that the advantage they had so far with negative working capital because of their business model of working on advances has gone. So yes, in fact, I'll be frankly share it. I had a planned trade to sell Kaplan at 850. Somehow it did not touch. थोड़ा सा नीचे से वापस आ गया. So yes, such planned trades also will have to be reworked, not aiming for one particular spot, but rather spreading it.
So you have not talked about the capital misallocation part, which he was asked.
Okay. Once something which is in B, normally मैं जितना C को देखता हूँ उतना B को नहीं देखता. I'll relook at it. And
no problem. Yes, fair enough.
Definitely. And whosoever has this question, kindly ping me. I'll come back to you.
Sure, sir. And anyways, जब C से B में चला गया, आपने अपना कैपिटल तो निकाल लिया है. तो अभी वो कैपिटल एलोकेशन हो नहीं हो, उससे your network doesn't suffer, right?
Yes.
So I think Siddharth Gautam has asked one question to me. How did I find Atul sir? So for that, all credit goes to Akhilesh, and Akhilesh has helped so many people meet each other that we don't know. So for that, all credit goes to Akhilesh.
Akhilesh is such a fantastic person, full of energy, 1000 megawatts kind of person. I've never seen him complaining on any aspect, and despite even a lot of personal difficulties that he came across in recent past, Achilles is fantastic guy. Yes, in fact, I cite to many of the friends that at least if you want a lot of energy, go and visit Achilles at his farm. And he's doing that also. It's a great work.
So many people don't know this, sir. You of course know, but many people don't know about this. That even though I am generally the face of SmartSync services, but Achilles is the foundation and pillar of SmartSync. So if Achilles was not there, SmartSync would have never started. So that
Right.
is also what Achilles is.
Yes. And,
So
and he has been so since the days we met.
yes, yes, yes. So moving on to the next question. I think Chetan asked this question. Do you look at past ROC, OPM, NPM numbers before investing? As in, how important are these numbers for you? Yeah.
Yes, in certain cases, when we find that the overall market cap is very low as compared to the past track record, that company has been consistently delivering good numbers, but somehow not noticed or appreciated by the markets, then yes, we look into those numbers, and then we try to find out that what could be the reasons for such undervaluation. If as I said, we met with the management of Jyoti Resins and had a suggestion that whatever are your numbers and your business model and prospects, you must share it with investors so that larger audience will come to know, and then they'll probably appreciate it well. So now PE has gone up substantially. So uh, yes, those numbers are important, but that is to be tracked on past performances. If value has already reached based on whatever good numbers are there, then henceforth it will be as good as it can grow.
Right.
So it will not be something extraordinary, as I believe.
It will only get the benefit of earnings growth rather than getting P expansion. Right.
Yes.
Right. So Avdut asks about your routine. What is your general routine? Or if you can share about, I would be more interested about how has this routine evolved over the years?
Yes. In fact, one thing is I'm a passionate reader. I read a lot. कहीं मैंने somebody lightly commented कि कहीं भजिया खाया तो उसका पेपर है ना वो भी रीड कर लेते हैं. So yes, I read a lot. My routine as such is normally I don't like to get up after 6. So it's very energetic in the morning. Yes, एक at least एक चक्कर लगा लेते हैं, a brisk walk, a good brisk walk. Then my addiction is business standard. तो business standard चाय के साथ पढ़ लेते हैं. Usually I visit market as it opens, so that at least the broad view एक क्या है and how market is reacting to those views, इसका एक पता चलता है. Another attraction is that okay, now I have retired, so some friends will meet there. We'll discuss over tea and not only stocks. Uh, so the friends are friends, very important. I'm also very keenly interested in social activities like tree plantation. इस साल हमने हमारे घर के पीछे जो गवर्नमेंट का फॉरेस्ट लैंड है उसमें वेरी हैप्पी टू से 35 trees we have planted. और बहुत अच्छी तरह लग गए हैं because of these rains. Another aspect is I'm very much interested in reskilling. In the job, I found that yes, graduates तो आते हैं, but many more, maybe alarmingly high, 80%. जैसे स्कूल में है ऐसे आते हैं. एक्चुअली जो इंडस्ट्री से जो कनेक्ट जब तक नहीं आता है, right now government has started with that, like in some western countries, जहाँ along with graduation they'll need to go and intern. So these are the activities. Recently we have started with some civic interventions. कि भी रोड ठीक नहीं है, तो then we must go and meet with the authorities. कि रोड ठीक नहीं है, क्योंकि अगर कोई बोला नहीं तो ठीक नहीं है, वो ठीक है. So
Right.
that
So when do you get time to study and read about businesses? What is your general
yes,
time?
इनफैक्ट मार्केट में जाके भी कुछ करना ही ऐसा तो है नहीं. सो देयर आल्सो वी हैव लाइक माइंडेड फ्रेंड्स जो स्टडी में इंटरेस्टेड है. उन्होंने कुछ स्टडी किया है, हमने किया है. So we exchange views and then we get a bit deeper into it. Fortunately, in Gandhinagar, there are many people who are interested, who are not in limelight, but have substantial knowledge, because they also have been reading since long, and they are also involved into market since quite long time. So, in fact, many of them are shy perhaps and are not sharing openly. But I believe in 1+1=11. ये पूरा
So
दरिया है, एक लोटा, अपना कैपेसिटी तो एक लोटा ही है.
what a thought. Sir, so इससे related ही एक point है. Actually, one of our Mission Smile member Kamal, he says that let's do one more session with Atul ji only for examples. But I have a much better idea. We were planning to do this for our Mission Smile members as to once a month we'll have just one free session. Free in the sense we'll have just free feeling talking and discussion about what you are looking at, क्या थीम अच्छा लग रहा है आपको, कौन सा सेक्टर अच्छा लग रहा है, अगर आपने कोई मैनेजमेंट से मिले हैं तो कैसा है. सो वुड यू बी, मतलब आई डोंट नो वेदर आई शुड आस्क दिस ऑन अ पब्लिक फोरम और नॉट, but would you be willing to participate in, so we'll make that a monthly affair for our Mission Smile members.
As I said, ये will नहीं होगा. It has to be distributed in time.
Very good, very good, thank you so much, sir. So we'll start that soon then.
Right.
So I'll move on to the next question. I think most of the questions have been covered here. Yeah, now I'll go to participants who have raised their hands. So I think there's one, Mehul. Hi, Mehul. You can, I've just, let me just unmute you. Just a second. I lost you there. So I'll just unmute you, Mehul, and then you can ask your question. Yes, Mehul, you can now ask your question.
Thank you so much, sir, for this session, and Ankit for organizing it. So I have a question, which was you talked about that, meeting managements is a mandatory thing for Microcap, and I to believe it. Now my question is that companies, is there any limit, like that companies will entertain you only if we have bought a certain number of shares, or how is it? I mean, how does it work? Like, if we request a company that we would like to meet the management.
Okay. There are two aspects. One is how willing they are. How willing
Right.
they are to share whatever they have. Like in one particular example in Ahmedabad, there is a company which is having two plants, one in Naroda, one in Chatral. They're into machines. Despite our repeated request, finally one day he told me कि भाई हम किसी से मिलते ही नहीं, अब आप फोन मत करना. So there is no way out. But still we found a way out. I'll tell you that later. The other parties, the way we communicate. If they find that, yes, it is our genuine interest, and specifically, we represent a group of minority shareholders. Now, with more and more importance of ESG theme, that governance is gradually getting importance. Managements are also realizing that having better governance standards and such ratings by investors would pull them higher PE and more focus. So rather than not responding, I find more people responding well. In fact, I have come across incidents where either their the company or their PR, if you are holding something, they call you either to vote in favor, means in e-voting, to take part in e-voting. Recently, I'm holding one MNC company, and they did something which not even an Indian company would do. It's such a giant, and they all of a sudden they pulled out 3 years back. They pulled out one very good going product from this listed company and put it into their private arm. So half the turnover gone and 80% margin gone. So it had gone up to 700. It crashed to 92. Obviously, we lost a lot of value. We made a lot of UN cry. They did not listen. Now there is a change in management. Even I'll name it. It's a multi-base. The parent is multi-base, I said. Their parent is DuPont. Earlier it was Dow Corning. So American giant company. And such a standard of corporate governance. So we raised a lot of questions. They did not. Recently, I received a call from their company secretary that management wants to have a conference call with some investors. Would you like to participate? I said yes, very much. In fact, we have been asking it for years together. Then somehow they said that, then I asked again that when it will take place. And they said now it will be at AGM. Fortunately, that AGM is day after tomorrow. And I have been receiving constant updates from the company secretary, and she's taking very good care of it. So she has been contacting all the investors, and yes, they have already taken our questions, our concerns, and presented to the management. In fact, I was asking that I'll be a bit harsh when I talk on that. She said, yes, you can. But there I see a change in perception of management. So if through this AGM, we'll be able to know that really a new director has come in place. He's from DuPont. So that is first signal that I'm getting. I'm holding it for almost 8 years. And probably now it could be a ton. But once we go through AGM, and probably then, if they permit, we'll go and meet them. So that will signal a good change. Because the theme is they are into materials for airbags. And airbags are being mandatory after the unfortunate incident of Cyrus Mistry sir. So government is also taking it more seriously. This thing will be imposed, and there are again improved prospects. I hope I have answered.
जो सी से बी डी में जाने वाला था, अब बी में जाने का चांस बन गया है, right?
Chance ban raha hai, right?
Mehul, I still see your hand being raised. Do you have anything else to ask?
Yeah. Just one follow-up question on this. So, very ignorant question from my side. So, even if I have 10 shares or 10,000 shares, doesn't matter. Can we approach for management? I mean,
That depends on management. Some people directly ask this question first: how much do you hold? So normally our practice is that we are a group of friends and family. So in all, they are in the same depository. So that's an advantage. Then we communicate the total, that as a group we represent like this. So if not in terms of total number of shares, at least in terms of total number of holders, that will matter.
right.
And yes, in general there are managements, but whosoever is asking that how much do you hold, okay, so I deduct 2 marks. They're not very open.
Right. One question which I had put on the chat box, which was which is always coming to my mind again and again, because I missed the part, where you were mentioning about C and D. What is the difference between us? I know that the risk is high in D company, but what is the difference?
C is newer companies in nascent stage of growth. D is something where it is in past it had reached some heights, and because of circumstances or some changes, it fell down, and now there is a probability it can come up again.
Okay, so I think the recent one, multi-base, is falls in D, I think.
And D is normally very low market cap companies.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Thanks.
Thank you, Mehul. So, sir, I forgot one important question from Manan Patel on the chat box. So, let me just tell you one thing, that Manan is also based out of Ahmedabad, and I'll definitely recommend both of you to meet each other, because I have learned a lot from Manan, and he also presented on a company recently on our platform, which everybody, which for which I got lots and lots of good response. So I would probably after the event or the session, we'll share each other's numbers. So he asked a very intelligent question over here. He says that how much leeway do you give to managements, companies which are not performing as per your expectation in terms of time or any other parameter that you consider before exiting?
Sorry, can you please repeat?
How much leeway do you give to managements / companies which are not performing as per your expectations in terms of time or any other parameters that you consider before exiting?
Real good. Yes, obviously everything that we see would not perform, because we are moving on certain assumptions that things are going to happen like this, right? We get even some contradictory opinions from different sections. Like right now, I'm for last about 5-6 months, as I said, this electrical infrastructure space is looking attractive to me. In a category between C and D, we were looking at transformers and rectifiers, which is Ahmedabad-based company, having Changodar and Moraiya, the other plants. The opinions that I received from different sections, one common thing is they are very ethical and fantastic people. Technology-wise, Mamtora sir is a brilliant guy, so no doubt about it. And they are also very ethical. Probably that could be a reason they could not garner much of government business since long. And then this interest servicing took its toll. So while I'm going through this, another consultant, a big consultant in this electrical space, he opined that we squeeze these people to such an extent that we don't leave them with margins. So he is someone who is not in connect with markets. So maybe he is negotiating well, but what really margins are and how they are likely to come going forward is something that we need to look at. So for that, we have requested the management for a meeting, and yes, they have agreed. So maybe next week we'll be meeting with them. So there we'll get a clear picture. It has already doubled, right? Price wise, if you look at it, it was 27.28. It recently touched 54, 55, and it has settled above important technical level of 47 weekly closing. Looking to the ensuing market conditions in near future, yes, it could be so that everything will tank. Looking to the global markets and the scenario, and there are a lot of rumors regarding political developments in China, Russia. There could be turbulence, but we'll keep watch on this. If promoters are ethical, they are technocrats, products are very good, and demand scenario is going to happening very good, then there are all the chances that they'll improve. So we'll try to find out what pinches and how it can be resolved and whether it can be resolved. Right? At times, suppose if I'm too good at certain things, but I have my own terms and conditions only on which I'll negotiate, then probably market will have other options. So we need to figure out that.
Right, sir. I see Narendra raising his hand. So Narendra, I'll just unmute you. You can ask your question. Yeah, Narendra, go ahead.
Hey, hi Atul bhai. Thank you very much. So, can you suggest a few books for someone who is from non-finance background? Because we need to understand a lot of financial ratios and basic stuff, right? So, from where to start with?
Okay, yes. Those who are having non-financial background, at least preliminary understanding is a must. That what equity is, what reserves are, how they are valued, what is the relation with market cap. A very relevant thing I would like to mention here is that one of the aspects to look at good picks is usually that I look at is turnover to market cap. As we discussed in flat product, the market cap to turnover or turnover to equity, another very good parameter. On a very small equity, if the turnover is large, then I compare it with an elephant standing on a stool. If it manages well, right, it's a wonder. But if it is debt ridden and it cannot service the interest, it will fall down. So I'm afraid of very high debt equity ratios because in difficult times they fall down much faster. There are a lot of online material also is available, or maybe you can. I would suggest you prefer to go through some short-term course on finance. That will help a lot.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Narendra, for your question. Hemant, you can now ask your question.
Hi, sir. The session is very good and I learned a lot. I had a question regarding the Hindustan adhesives, which you mentioned. You said you picked that company because you saw the tapes on the Dominus box, but we already know they are market leaders in the adhesive space, be it Pidilite or Astral, or even some smaller companies like Jyothi. When the opportunity is that clearly visible, what made you choose this? Because the competitors had a big balance sheet, they can easily come and take this market away. So, what made you comfortable by choosing this? And also, do you make a consideration that it should be a market leader or it should have a certain market share before you get into a company? Because at any moment, a competitor may put up a new plant and grab the market. If they have a big balance sheet, they can uh, give discounts or take the principal agents like carpenters away by offering them more incentives. Any thoughts on this?
Thank you for this question. I would put it like this. We met with one management in Changodar, Real Strips. Is Mr. Prakash Rai. They are simply converting hot rolled coils into lower gauges. So basically, it's a conversion work. And ultimately, that lower gauge plates, either they would be converted into stainless steel and then utilized for utensils. So वो एक circle बना के दे देंगे उनके जो कस्टमर्स है उनको। आई वाज जस्ट आस्किंग देम कि इतना सारा जो प्रोसेस कर लिया, दे आर इनटू कंटिन्यूअस प्रोसेस, वो एक दिन भी बंद नहीं रख सकते, नहीं तो उनका जो 1200 डिग्री का फर्नेस है वो उनको चालू करने में 3 दिन लगेंगे। दे विल लूज लॉट ऑफ मटेरियल एंड टाइम, सो इट्स अ कंटिन्यूअस प्रोसेस। सो आई वाज जस्ट वंडरिंग एंड आई आस्क्ड देम कि सर आप ऐसा क्यों नहीं करते हैं, अब तो खाली जो आपका ऑलरेडी जो पतरे का एक बन गया एक सर्कल, तो उससे बर्तन बनाना तो सिर्फ एक ही स्टेज है छोटा सा, तो खाली आप 2 मशीन पीछे लगा दो तो डायरेक्ट बर्तन बनेंगे। ही लाफ्ड एट मी, ही सेड कि देखो भाई, आप बाहर से आए हो, हम एक इकोसिस्टम में, दे आर आवर कस्टमर्स, हम कुछ कमा रहे हैं, दे हैव एक्सेस टू मार्केट, दे नो whom टू सेल द यूटेंसिल्स। अगर मैं ही सारा खा लूंगा तो इकोसिस्टम खत्म हो जाएगा। ये तो अपना काम हमें करना है, उनका काम उनको करने देना है। तो जो अगर 10% मुझे मिलता है, 5 उससे मिले, अच्छा है। सो मोस्टली व्हाट आई हैव सीन इज कि बाहर से अगर हम देखते हैं कि ये कोई ओवरनाइट कोई कॉम्पिटिटर आ जाए और उसको ले ले, व्हेन वी टॉक टू ज्योति रेजिन्स, मेरा ये सवाल ये भी था कि सपोज पीडीलाइट ऑफर्स यू, राइट, दैट इज नंबर 1 एंड बिगेस्ट ब्रांड, इफ दे उन्होंने ब्लू कोट ले लिया, ब्लू कोट इज नाउ मर्ज विद पीडीलाइट, तो अगर ये आपको ऑफर करते हैं तो आप क्या करेंगे? ही वॉज वेरी रेशनल, ही सेड के मुझे एक ब्रांड बनाने में, एक बिजनेस बनाने में इतने साल लगे हैं, मैं पैसे लेके क्या करूंगा? Shall I start with another journey? He said, I'll not sell. तो एटलीस्ट बाहर से हमें जितना इजी दिखता है कि कोई आ जाएगा ये ले जाएगा, यस वी ऑल्सो चेक विद द चैनल। तो इनके जो हिंदुस्तान एडहेसिव के जो एक कॉम्पिटिटर है, वन ऑफ फ्रेंड, हिज वाइफ वाज वर्किंग विद दैट ग्रुप, ही सेड के शी सेड के वी आर अंडर कटिंग, जो हम अभी सप्लाई कर रहे हैं वो काफ़ी लोअर प्राइस में कर रहे हैं, एंड इवन हिंदुस्तान एडहेसिव विल हैव टू मैच विथ अस। ये थोड़ी देर चल, एक क्वार्टर खराब आया। नेक्स्ट टाइम आस्क कर कि अभी वही चल रहा है, शी सेड कि नहीं, हमने वो बिजनेस ही बंद कर दिया, बिकॉज दे हैव a very good well established network, their clients, not only local, even export clients। तो अगर मुझे कल को आके कोई 2 रुपया नीचे कोई प्रोडक्ट देता है, सिंपली बिकॉज ऑफ दैट रीजन आई विल नॉट चेंज माई वेंडर। तो बिजनेस के एज वी सी एंड मीट देम, वी नो दिस। अदरवाइज बहुत सिंपल ही लगता है कि भाई ये 2 रुपये नीचे दे रहा है तो क्यों नहीं हम इसके बजाय इससे ले ले। तो आई वुड सजेस्ट टू गो थ्रू कॉन कॉल ऑफ एनजीएल फाइन कैम। बहुत कम मराठी प्रमोटर्स है इस स्पेस में, दे आर वन ऑफ देम, अचानक आप उनका एक कॉन कॉल देखना, ट्रांसक्रिप्ट भी है उसका अवेलेबल, एवरी टाइम एवरी 6 months एटलीस्ट दे गिव ए कॉन कॉल। ये बात बहुत अच्छी तरह उन्होंने नरेट किया है कि कोरोना पीरियड में उन्होंने कोई प्राइस आर्बिट्ररी प्राइस राइज नहीं किया, टू हैव ए लॉन्ग टर्म रिलेशनशिप विद देयर कस्टमर्स, reliable customers. I think I've answered. Is it?
Yes, sir. To an extent, yeah. But still, I also have this question that at most we as retail investors can hold a few hundred shares. I tried to reach few companies through email, but I could not get any response. Is there any other way to try to reach to them?
Yes, yes. You are very right. कोशिश करना है। आपने मेल डाला है, अब सबके सब लोगों के टेलीफोन नंबर अवेलेबल है, ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा वो नहीं उठाएंगे। एक बार आपका कहीं ना कहीं कभी कभार ऐसा भी होगा कि even the receptionist would give some good clue. Recently we came across, let me share this, a Jaipur based company, उन्होंने एक मेल डाला जवाब नहीं आया, और 2-3 को डाला, जवाब नहीं आया। कंपनी के जनरल नंबर पे फोन किया, आई आस्क्ड फॉर कंपनी सेक्रेटरी बिकॉज नॉर्मली ही इज कंप्लायंस ऑफिसर, तो वो नहीं मिले। जवाब आया कि वो अभी नहीं है। सेकेंड टाइम, थर्ड टाइम, फोर्थ टाइम, तो कहते हैं नहीं है। देन आई ट्राइड इन अनदर वे। आई आस्क वेरी कैजुअली कि भैया कहाँ चला जाता है ये, इतने दिनों से कॉल कर रहा हूँ, मिल ही नहीं रहा है। देन ही थॉट के दिस मस्ट बी पर्सनल। तो ही सेड के टाइम ही नहीं मिल रहा है उसको, वो तो घर भी नहीं जा पाता है। तो बोला इतनी देर तक काम करता है। ही सेड कि यस, वो ही नहीं, हम सारे करते हैं। दैट गेव ए वेरी गुड हिंट ऑन द वर्किंग। इट्स a cable company. It was available at 40 rupees. एसएमई से मेन बोर्ड पे आया था। तो इट वाज अ वेरी गुड हिंट कि अगर ये घर नहीं जा पा रहे हैं, इतना काम है, दे विल डू फैंटास्टिक। इन अबाउट अ ईयर नाउ इट इज कोटिंग एट अबाउट 150। तो यस, आई वुड सजेस्ट कि आप कॉल करिए, उनको मेल करिए। अगर नेटवर्क है, ask someone there to visit. Ultimately, they will have to respond to holders because they are responsible people. नहीं तो क्यों पब्लिक लाए हैं कंपनी, प्राइवेट ही रखते हैं।
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. And one final question. You talked about the companies like Jyoti Resin. What made you choose that? When I looked at the balance sheet, I found that they are hardly making 3 or 4 crores of profit, but they bought Benz and BMW cars at such a high interest rate. And under the company books, they are using them when the business does not have a bottom line, or rather than in reinvesting it into the business. Do you not see such things as red flags? I have seen some other companies also which are listed in SME IPOs buying cars with the money raised rather than reinvesting in the company. Is it not a red flag, or do you consider any other things like this?
Yes, if company is not earning well, and if you see Mercedes and BMW, it's definitely a red flag. But yes, and SME, even my impression is that uh, most companies, one must be very careful, because as when you don't have the history, reasonable history available, डिस्क्लोजर जो भी है वो आपके पास नहीं है इतने, तो यू मस्ट टेक इट विद अ पिंच ऑफ सॉल्ट। तो ये भी है कि एसएमई कंपनीज आर ट्रेडेड इन लॉट्स, तो जो स्मॉल इन्वेस्टर्स विल नॉट बी देयर। पहले इजीली कॉर्नर हो सकता है, बाद में लॉट छोटा होता है, बाद में मेन बोर्ड पे आता है, फिर तब तक प्राइस काफ़ी ऊपर होता है, पीपल आर यूज्ड टू सीइंग दोज हाई प्राइसेस, फिर डिस्ट्रीब्यूट हो जाता है, फिर वैनिश हो जाता है। So yes, that we must take.
Sir,
So
I was saying this happened in Jyoti Resins in the past 1 to 2 years. Since you observed and you might be reading the annual reports, did you consider this and thought of selling or partially exiting because they are doing such things, or how do we see this?
as I said, in any microcap companies, after certain level, the first thing I would do is recover my capital, and next, still if it is doing very well, even I'll take out some profits. Right, that is must. But what I see is uh, now it has got a substantial base of carpenters, and now they are on app. They have developed an app. So whosoever is buying what and will claim the points. So they have a digital network to get the actual data. That is a big strength, and that's a very unique model. What I learn is that they have more than 1 lakh carpenters on that network. देखिए ये चीजें कुछ ऐसी है. In fact, in one such investor meet, one gentleman presented a case of Zomato. Zomato, he has presented so well. It looks a compelling buy. बिकॉज जोमेटो ने जितना पैसा ये सिस्टम बनाने में लगाया अब तक, दैट नो अदर कैन डू. सो इट इज़ नॉट अबाउट सिंपली कि कल कोई आ जाएगा और वो ऑफर करेगा कि मैं फ्री डिलीवरी कर दूं. द सिस्टम्स, द IT systems, द नंबर ऑफ पीपल, उनकी ट्रेनिंग इतने सालों की, उनके जो एक्सपीरियंस है, हाउ डू दे पैक फूड. तो बाकी डिलीवरी से फूड डिलीवरी इज डिफरेंट, राइट. आई एम गोइंग थ्रू दैट केस, बट ऑन फेस ऑफ इट इट लुक्स वेरी कंपेलिंग. जैसे चाइना में जो डिलीवरी स्टेटिस्टिक्स है, if we reach even a part of it in next 3-4 years, it will be a big business. And only two competitors are there, Swiggy and Zomato. So if the smaller players, some third, अगर आता भी है तो it will be a long way for them to reach at such a stage.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I was muted. So we'll take last two questions, sir. It's already 3.5 hours. So I have been doing, and we have been doing at under SmartSync Services and Mission Smile almost 2-3 webinars every month, and I have never seen. Participants आते तो बहुत है सब में, but इतने देर तक रुक के this is the first webinar. So thank you so much, sir, for सबको बांध के रखने में. It is all about you, how you have shared your journey. So
I'm lucky.
So I'll just ask Jagdish, you can ask your question.
Hello.
Yeah, Jagdish, please go ahead.
Hi, Ankit. This is Jagdish from Bangalore. Okay, so I work in a company, MNC company in Bangalore, as a senior manager of finance, and investing is a passion for me. And thank you very much for this wonderful inviting. Actually, Ankit, he invited to our group, and a couple of our friends have attended this session. In this wonderful session, Ankit, thank you very much for conducting this type of seminar. And Atul sir, thank you very much. You are very passionate investor, and I'm so much enjoying. I don't have the words to say. Thanks for the insights.
Thank you for the good words.
Yeah. You really, sir. I'm actually, to be frank, I went out actually. I was driving and listening to you because even I don't want to
please be careful. Please be careful.
I was actually put in the car. I put it in the the speaker, just, and I went out and I came back, and so it's what I'm trying to say. It's so much interesting, sir. Thank you for giving wonderful session, sir. Thank you very much, sir. One question I have, couple of questions what I wanted to ask. It has already been asked by Hemanta and others actually. See, one actually, a couple of years back, I wanted to. Usually, I don't invest on the microcap. Rather, I invest in other stocks. Now, I started investing on the microcap too, sir. Actually, getting information is very difficult. Actually, one couple of years back, on Worry Group, when I wanted to, when I was looking for some, solar-related business, Worry, it was around 40-50 rupees. EPC, it was Sangam. Renewables that point of time, and just I dig down. I didn't know Worry Group that point of time. I called many friends, including Ankit also. I called, and most of people didn't have information about the. They know about the group, but they don't know about the about this company. So actually, how to get the information, sir? I called many friends, chartered accountants, based out of Mumbai, Delhi. And one person gave me, he is doing audit, some internal audit he is doing for the Worry Group, and he gave me some confidence about the group, okay, about the corporate governance, about the Worry and their the group. So based on that, based on the potential future business, I've invested some amount, but I did not scale up further because I was not very confident. But how to get information, sir? When I'm not getting anywhere, where to get the information? Actually, to get the confidence to invest on that.
So Jagdish, I think your main question is how to get information, and so you spoke to me also. So probably you spoke to the wrong people. If you would have spoken to Atul sir, he would have given you some answer. And if you would have listened to him throughout the session, there are many ways to reach out to management and reach out to the right kind of people to get the information.
Okay.
So we'll move on to the next question in the interest of time, because as Akhilesh very rightly mentioned in the chat box that we are now intruding Atul sir's dinner time now. So
No. It's wrong.
yeah.
Not
So,
I have one question. I have one question. So sorry, sir. Actually,
please be a
now,
little quick.
Yeah, sir. Actually, now looking at the future potential of the solar business, which all from microcap company point of view, from the materials for the solar business, or could be EPC, which companies do you have anything in your mind? You're studying about it. We can look at it and do some research on that, sir.
Okay. In fact, we before it got demerged, we were looking at this Borosil.
Okay.
Because again, you see, probably that was the first company where the management awarded one special cash bonus, 50 lakh rupees to CEO. They have a patent. The tempered glass that they're using is thin, and it generates 30% more energy from both sides.
Okay.
That's what they mentioned, and they have patented it. So taking that patent, CEO's role was very crucial, as they declared, and they have awarded him with 50 lakh rupees cash. So on both sides, good practice and good encouragement to all others in the company. The only part is because government is very serious about energy, rising cost of energy, and requirement of low cost energy. It much more speed. That's why recently they did not continue with the import duty, the additional import duty that they had imposed, anti-dumping. So that's why Chinese imports will come in. But in this space, I believe that government is more inclined to have more power generated rather than benefit of a monopoly company like Gujarat Borosil.
Okay.
Similar one. There are 70, 80 panel manufacturers, and they had to take the components only from this one company. So yes, a lot of people are there, but simultaneously the market is too large. Solar will go at much faster pace.
Thank you so much, sir, and thank you, Jagdish.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Kamal, you can ask the last question for the session today.
Yeah. Thanks, Ankit. Great session, sir. Atulji. A quick question. So, in your investment journey for so many years, how many of your, in terms of percentage, how many of the micro caps that you invested in went on to become mid caps?
Okay.
Any rough percentage will also work, sir. We are not looking for exact percentage.
Yeah, rough.
Yes, I have not seen from that angle. So any precise figure right now I would not give. But yes, I would say that in initial part, I met with a lot of failures. Because whatever material at that time was available was only something on paper. We looking at that, we get excited, we jump in, and then we find that okay, either that potential is not there, or it is the news that has reached us and they have distributed. So in different cycles. But yes, in 2000, after the great slump in 2001, for nearly 1 year, it was all barren land. Then it started picking up, and economy really started picking up from there. And then at that time, we had made a compilation of 100 companies that we liked, mostly from microcaps. And yes, there almost 90 out of them performed very well, going 2 to 8x. But that was a period. So cyclically, there would be periods when value is very deep, uh, as just I mentioned during Corona period, and maybe there could be again a period coming in future if this big powers, China, Russia, US, Europe, if something unusual happens, then again it might hit the market hard. This is just a possibility. In that scenario, if at all it happens, what would be a very good value that we'll need to look at in that scenario? As I told, recently what I have been looking at is the cotton yarn prices shot up like anything. Because cotton shot up, the cotton that was sold for 45,000 rupees around reached as high as 1 lakh rupees. So yarn makers were in deep trouble. But some people who had very good inventory, maybe inventory for the entire year, they benefited a lot. So with reference to him, one Mr. Gurudas, whom we met there in Pune, he's a master at textiles. He has sold machines to almost every company for last 40 years. So he knows each and everybody personally. So for any reference in textile, I'll refer it back to him. So for next 3-4 years probably, there are two major issues with the textile right now that in fact he narrated very well. One is logistics. In India, we have issues like where cotton is growing, to make it convert it into yarn, it has to be transported a lot. Again, to make it fabric, they transport it a lot. Again to finishing, again to apparels. So that's how our apparel has very high component of logistics cost. Another is Bangladesh, Pakistan, Vietnam. They have got duty advantage from European Union and US. So that difference is roughly 9%. So we are at two great disadvantages. Now China is probably vacating this space. So Chinese exports are huge. If we get even 10% of it, our exports will double. That is the difference in size. So government of India is now coming out with very right policies. Piyush Goyal sir, a very prudent minister, and with one scheme, what is known as tough technology upgradation funds. Many textile players are upgrading their machineries to meet with the quality requirements. Another is PLI, where every state government is offered a textile park. So that will solve the problem of logistics. In the same place, there will be yarn and fabric and finishing and apparels. So simultaneously with Australia and I think Malaysia, we have concluded free trade agreements. So that duty issue is resolved with them. Now, recently, our ministers are visited Abu Dhabi, where discussions are on with them for FTA. And most likely, very soon, we'll have that in place for Europe. Once it happens, and with Bangladesh, even today, if you read the Business Standard, Bangladesh is getting more into bigger troubles. Even food is an issue. So, relative advantage to India is happening slowly. So, next 3 to 4 years, textile could be a very good thing. That's what I believe. So, we look at it like this. We have some textile spinning companies in our portfolio headed at very good levels. And still I find that yes, this quarter results would be probably bad because the last quarter cotton prices were high. As against that, acreage in cotton has gone up by nearly 10%. And with very good rains, even late rains, cotton has bright prospects of uh, very good production this time around. So cotton will be cheaper. So not all the margins they will pass to next customers. So cotton yarn companies are likely to do well going forward. So if any dips are observed in this quarter, that will be a good pickup point. That's all.
Thank you so much, sir. Kamal, I hope that answers your questions, right?
Yeah. Thanks a lot, sir. I also have Nitin Spinners. Great insights. Thank you.
Great. Please stick with that.
Thank you. I'll reach out to you separately as well.
Sure. In fact, I'm very thankful to Ankit ji, Akhilesh ji, entire team Mission Smile, and all the participants for bearing with me for such a long time. I also, in fact, I was asking him that would be 1 hour be enough? And Ankit ji was saying that okay, it will depend on how people are kind enough.
So
Yes.
we have nothing to do, as in I personally have nothing to do with this. It is all about what you have to offer and how receptive the audience is. So we are thankful to both you and the audience who have kept on listening to you and asking some really great questions. So before, I know I've already taken a lot of your time, but before leaving, any timeline where you think that we can have our first microcap management coming on our platform, sharing their journey? Any timeline, rough timeline?
I've been talking to 2-3 managements. I hope in October I would be able to bring some of them on this platform. As I mentioned earlier, in fact, I would like to bring him on this platform, one Mr. Pratik Gandhi. He's a fantastic investor and almost entirely into, I would say, finding gems in D.
Great.
With such a great success rate that yes, I think it would be very appropriate for this forum. In fact, I'm also very thankful to you to keep this available to everybody, because that is the way how we reach to many more people.
Right.
Love it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I have no words to express our gratitude towards you. As in, I can easily say that this was by far the best Mission Smile webinar we have had in entire. We started somewhere in January 2021. So our team has done a lot of webinar. We have so many guests, but I'm sure not just me, Akhilesh would agree with me, and all our Mission Smile members who have been with us for last close to 2 years now. So I think by far the best webinar we had till now, and that makes me a little more greedy, and I would not leave you anymore. Maybe once a month we'll have some free flowing discussion with our Mission Smile members so that we can regularly interact about different themes or industry or maybe some stocks which you are looking at.
Sure. Yeah, I love that.
Thank you so much, sir, and thank you so much, everyone. Have a good weekend and have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.